Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. I'm also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your everybody that you might know will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. As things get crazier in this world today, I I do continue to pray, but also I realize just how important those prayers actually are. So many people so confused, so spiritually unaware of many of the things that are going on in this world, and hey, Michelle. Hi, Jody. I'm going to leave the heater on for a minute while other folks get in here, if if they do, which usually they do. Hi, Jody. Jody, have you seen any of the recent Dante videos um, put up by the cause? I've been going back through some of them and very re-enlightening, I just got to say. Re-lightning? More lightning? Something like that. But anyway, and a couple of things I'm going to sort of kind of talk about um, tonight because I do think it's important. I have talked about it before in certain areas and extremes and so forth. So if you all hear a bunch of noise in the background, yeah. I watched the one again about the ritual, and also which I had watched when it happened, but and I can't remember what the other one is, but about Princess Coronis. And I mentioned it before, but I couldn't remember the name of the princess. I just remembered the incident because it shocked me. And so I was glad that he put it back out there so I could go, oh yeah, that's the one. Hey, Project. Hi, how are you? I am hoping that on this Sunday evening of March the 7th, 2021, that in your world things are as well as they can be. And I continue to pray as Hawkeye Two Feathers and as David Null, but a lot of times here recently I seem to be more in the Hawkeye mode versus the David mode, if y'all understand that paradigm at all. But anyway, after I did the video the other day about Earth Wobble, I don't know, about a week or so ago ish kind of thing, and my observations of Orion, which I went out just before I came in, and Duggar's up on the couch. He's had his a good run outside today. Hey, Delaney. Yeah, cosmic hugs to you too, my darling. Pearl. I just have an affination, Delaney, to call you Pearl, with love and much respect. But after I published and did that video, probably 5 hours long, because Michelle wanted me to stay on. I'm gonna pick on you folks tonight, just for the heck of it, right? Um, that I was like, the next day or so, things that I talked about were like in the news, and I was like, what? Yeah. So I was like, well, I talked about this the other day, so I thought it would be important to kind of have a Mandy Moo. Oh, is it? Thank you, Mandy. I still don't know what to think about the that email you sent me. I graciously Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you were on the show the other night with the Andromeda group, right? So, but anyway, thank you for what you do, every one of you. But anyway, so in this update of information, which updated something else, and several years ago, I did a couple of videos about it, and pretty much people, you know, if you know me long enough, people just think I'm freaking crazy. That's the answer. He does not know what he's talking about. Well, scientists today are talking about, I'm going to go in order that I put it in the title, the Gulf Stream. Now, way back when, and my dear friend Serge Latour, that passed away a few months back, he was very much into water and oceans and a bunch of stuff. And when the Gulf oil spill happened, he cried. We both did, because we understood what it meant to the ocean. And him being a marine biologist and not just ocean, but a biologist and also one of the best folks um, having to do with water, cleaning water. And I've talked about Serge quite a few times. But anyway, back when we saw the planes spraying over the Gulf of Mexico, Dark Truth, hey there, how are you? Blessings, everyone. That when they were spraying the Corexit over the oceans, he said, you know, Corexit is going to make the situation worse with the oil, because the Corexit doesn't disperse the oil, it creates the oil to sink off of the top of the water. And so that where this oil spill, where it's still located, there's information that it's still spewing oil, by the way. But the Corexit, so let me back up just a half a second. Hi, everybody. There's 10 folks in here. Mandy Moo, thank you for your wisdom. Oh, I'm pointing at the computer when the camera is over here. Smoke, if you got him, it's 420 somewhere, right? I've been waiting on this one. Made fresh coffee so I could hang out with y'all this evening a little bit. So in the water, almost any water, there are what's called thermoclines. So you've probably been in a lake where it's warmer on the top, and depending on the lake and how deep it is, there's a lot of different conditions. But it's always cold. Your feet are always colder than your upper part of your body, depending on the lake. And you can feel these different thermoclines in the water, okay? And they change. Well, in the ocean, there are the same things. There are thermoclines in the ocean. So up near the surface is a lot warmer, etc. So, but what happened with all the oil that got spilled, and being that I lived here close to the beaches and so forth, a lot of folks were going down to the beach, and they'd normally go to the beach, and they were having so many problems with all of the project Skyfall. 4 hours. I see what y'all are doing to me. I love you. I do. Thank you. But that it didn't dissipate the oil, but it made the oil from the top sink down to a thermocline. Okay. And because of the temperature of the ocean, you know, in the summertime, it's obviously hotter. So the warm part of the thermocline goes deeper. And then wintertime, that thermocline, the warmer water, is narrower. Okay, with that in mind. So it dropped the oil, all that oil that covered the Gulf of Mexico, dropped it down to a thermocline. So we couldn't see it. Well, I did a video several years ago and I said the Gulf Stream is messed up. The Sargasso Sea, which is off the coast of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, out there in the Atlantic. It's called the Sargasso Sea. And it's been called that. It was named, I don't know, after General Sargasso. I forget. But anyway, the idea, though, that the Sargasso Sea sailors have been like avoiding it because it's like there are dead calms in there and stuff. Anyway, long history of the Sargasso Sea. Well, the Gulf Stream comes between the tip of Florida, Key West, Cuba down there, and through the Bahamas. Pooh, easy for you to say. Through the Bahamas, Pyramid 7, how are you? And along the coast of Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, that little bit of Florida, Georgia. And that it was showing signs of slowing several years ago. I had warned that it was going to slow. It was already slowing. And because of the Corexit, because of the heavier oil that sunk to a thermocline, it didn't go away, okay? It didn't sink to the bottom, although some did. But then the chemicals that bonded with the oil in order to sink it stuck with it. All of this extra mass, okay, because oil's thicker than water, right? So it's heavier. So the Gulf Stream's flowing along and doing its thing for a long time. And then all of a sudden, there's this heavy goo that gets trapped in it. And so I have been worried about the Gulf Stream for quite some time. So, but now scientists, the big boys, are going, oh my God, we think it's damn near stopped. Now, with ocean currents the way they are, and with this, the Gulf Stream is tied into Earth Wobble. Because if the natural order of currents around the world were to disperse water and to change it, it would, it would take this water all the way up into England and Norway and up that way, right? So the Gulf Stream was really important. So, but now that these streams in the oceans have slowed, stopped, altered, changed directions, or just stopped functioning normally, that water is sitting there versus running. It has become stagnant. And where it used to flow is now like just sitting there being a big wobble of, stuff. And the fact that all that gunk is still there. Okay. Hey, Slightly Slanted, how are you? And David Castle, blessings as well. I heard that there may be some variable and rare sunken cities near Cuba. Yes, there are, Pyramid. Yes, most definitely. And off of Bimini and Puerto Rico, way back when I was a kid, they were talking about the pyramids and the walls under the water off of the coast of Bimini. And there's a lot of and in my early readings of Edgar Cayce, he talked about Atlantis being there. And so, okie dokie. But I agree with it, a dead zone, yes, slightly slanted. And so, but anyway, so here's the Gulf Stream that used to flow normally. Now is they're like really, I say they're really making a case for it. I think there are folks who are starting to piece this together. There are the oceanographers who look at tides and currents and so forth. And then there are the meteorologist folks who look at, patterns and weather things and this and that. And then there are all these scientists in their own trade, okay? And I don't think some of them have been talking much to each other, but in the last this year, this April will be 11 years since the Gulf oil thingy. So the fact that after 11 years more after it, The Gulf Stream has slowed, has stopped. I mean, and I would say that it would depend on the day. It would depend on what the thermocline was. In other words, how hot or cold the ocean was. Also, how much the earth is wobbling. And so, to bring that to the next topic, Earth Wobble Update, listening to Pastor Paul the other night and Mike from around the world, then I saw two or three other things. Scientists are all agree. Guess what? The Earth wobble has increased, and it's getting worse. So the Earth. Back when I was a kid in school, they showed this top, and back in those days, we had those wooden tops and used to play with them. I don't even know if you can buy them anymore, but so you spin the top, and as it slows down a little bit, it starts doing this wobble thingy, right? So in the 60s, they described this wobble as natural, and that this wobble occurred over a period of years. Okay. Well, now, as my last video, and many of us were talking about tonight, I looked at Orion. It's up where it should be. It's a little low, but no, it's pretty much where it's supposed to be. It was last night. So I'm like, okay. But here's the thing. How the belt stars lined up as it traversed across the sky tonight, it looks twisted. It looks like it's on its side. And I'm like, now I know that whole damn constellation don't move. So it looks in about the right place in the sky, but it's twisted. What the hell, right? Okay. But if the scientists are starting to come out and go, yeah, the Earth is really wobbling. Yeah, it really is. So, and we've seen after all these earthquakes, 8.1, 7.6, 7.4, bunch of aftershocks, bunch of stuff going on in Iceland. So my discussion about magma moving under the earth, and there's several folks that go, oh no, we have a solid core Earth, and it's not hollow, of course, and the Earth is solid all the way down. There is no layer of stuff, right? Magma. And I have to look at that and go, it may be solid in places, but all this magma under the earth, if they drill, it doesn't matter where they drill down. If they drill down deep enough, it gets so hot it melts their drill bits. Okay. So they're trying to tell me through these scientist folk who are passing along all this other information, how if the earth was solid, then how come they can only drill so far before the drill bits melt? Something else has got to be going on, right? And it's quite simple. We're floating so much on, as one could say, float on a bed of magma, you know. And as the changes with the Earth, with the solar, streams, the magnetic shuffle that's going on right now. I mean, we've had the Schumann the other day was way out of whack for almost 2 days. I didn't check it earlier. It was really high, and then there's a blank spot of several hours. Now, I honestly, about every month or so, every 6 weeks or so, there is a blank spot. It's almost like they shut the thing down, recalibrate it, put paper in it, whatever it is. But the Schumann was really knocking it out, not out of the park, but it was really being kind of heavy duty these last 2 days. And then there's this great big black spot in the, so it shut it down. Was it the Schumann that shut it down? Well, if you look at it, the chart was like, it's getting a little better, and then it just shuts off. So people, it got so bad it killed the machine. I've been talking about this now for at least 3 years. There are periodic spots when you look at the Schumann thing, and I should write it down, right? But Um, I just know by observation almost daily that that they shut the machine down periodically, or it goes offline, whatever it is. And it got off, several about a year or so ago, and I was like, oh, holy crap, the machine went down. Then I went back through my pictures because I used to take a picture screenshot every day, and I went, wait a minute, this sometimes it's off, but it's only off for an hour or hour and a half, so it's a really thin line. And then there are other times when I went back through my records and I went, oh, holy crap, it goes off periodically. So nothing to be freaked out about. But yes, we have just within the last day, we went through a high, whatever frequency was hitting the earth, it affected the Schumann resonance. Okay. It's not the Schumann that affects us. The Schumann is the results of all this cosmic rays and what it has upon the earth. Remember that. Okay. The Schumann isn't making us. The Schumann is the result of it. Okay. I mean, a Geiger counter picks up radiation. It doesn't make the radiation, such as the Schumann. Okay. The Schumann resonance is the machines that pick up the resonance. It doesn't make it. Thank you. Somebody was like, "Oh, can you explain that a little better, Dave?" Yeah, that's what it is. So, but truthfully, that's what it is. So, I look at what some of these folks are talking about, and we got more comments coming in. Well, the UK had one that sailed right across during the daytime. There's a lot more UFO activity going on. I mean, looking out my back door the other night. Was it last night? Anyway, my I get confused sometimes, but in my observation though, about 4 or 5 days ago when it was clear, and then we had rain, cloudy for 2 days. The rivers all went above flood stage. By the way, it was almost 16 foot, and flood stage is 15. It's down to like 13 feet now. The last 2 days, I did paddle. Oh, Michelle, if you're still there, I did paddle around in my backyard. And it was up higher than it was the last time I paddled around in my backyard when Duggar jumped in the kayak. So I took my 2 poles this time instead of just a paddle, and went down the property line and across a few places and went into my neighbor's property and upstream. And man, that water's really coming through there, let me tell you. So it's down now. There are puddles instead of, there's still some flowing water across the property, but not like it was a couple of days ago. And it was a lot of fun to go out there and paddle around in the kayak in my backyard. But dangerous, I gotta say. A lot of floating debris. Oh my God, the trees and things. We used to have a flood every year, once, at least once, probably 2 or 3 times into the spring. And we haven't had that in a long time. It's flooded twice this year, more than it has in the last 10 years. Okay, that's how much different it is. But it's going back. People are saying, oh, look at all the extra rain we're getting. This used to be sort of normal. Okay, so, in my way of thinking, thank you, Jesus, we're going back to a normal cycle. But anyway, so extra rain, a lot of water, a lot of rivers south of us. I mean, the Ochlockonee now, 13 feet is still way up. You can't get to the boat ramp. The boat ramp's underwater, and probably if you wanted to put in the river, if you were dumb enough, then you'd be you'd be putting your boat in from the road, not from the ramp. But anyway, the Earth wobble, though, has been discussed in several other places and channels, and it's not necessarily on the mainstream news, but it used to just be an observation of mine, and scientists were kind of kicking it around, but that had a little bit to do with why we're having such strange weather. Okie dokie. But now they're talking about it, that the wobble is it's not just there. Before they were not necessarily admitting that we were wobbling so much, but now they're really talking about how much it is the wobble has increased. Okay, so I kind of feel validated on both points. And I say that because my discussions years ago, 5 or 6 years ago now, about the Gulf Stream and the Corexit and everything, that was all scientific studies that were published way back when the Gulf oil spill happened thing. And some of the scientists were going, we can't tell everybody this, we can't talk about that. This might, it will slow the Gulf Stream, but that it might shut it down. If you go back, you know, 8 or 9 years and look for papers about the Corexit and the oil spill and you'll find out, because that was some of the details that Serge and I were looking at. And what he knew, because he worked with oils and waters and how to make it dissipate, they call them flocculants, and a different type are designed for different things. So you can have this crappy green goo, can't see through a test tube, and put a little of this powder in it, and it goes, and it all falls to the bottom, and the water is more or less clear. Might have some particulates in it, but all the nasty stuff has literally just fell to the bottom. So, in having worked with people like this over my lifetime and having observed the Gulf of Mexico, I mean, he lived down there near Panacea, just on the southern end of Tate's Hell, the big swamp down there. And he was noticing changes in the tide waters back when he got this place down there, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. So, but in watching what's been going on, the weather patterns and changes and so forth, the fact that all that oil is stuck underneath somewhere. Now it is splintered off, but if it's coming out from around Key West, and just like I've watched my backyard with the sand, it'll flood a lot, and it'll take sand and move it from over here to over there, and it'll create a hole that didn't used to be there before. And you go, where the hell did this hole come from? And then you'll go a little further down, and there'll be a place where there used to be a hole, and it's now filled in with the sand that come out of that hole. But anyway, a lot of earth gets moved every time it rains. It's amazing at the tonnage amount of particulates that are in the water, even when it looks like it's clear, even in the backyard. But the higher the volume, I've seen, huge trees get moved by the force of the water, big boulders. You've seen mudslides and stuff like that, on YouTube. Well, all that's important because water is that strong. But there are things that mess water up, like oil and Corexit and other chemicals. They sprayed for years over the Gulf of Mexico. Okay. They may still be spraying. So that the problem didn't go away. It just went out of sight. Okay. Now, what's that got to do with the earth wobble? Because if the oceans aren't flowing the way they used to, then what used to flow naturally, and you've got, for example, in machinery, if a machine has been spinning really nice or something, but it gets a little gunk on one of the bearings or something, it'll wobble a little bit, especially if it's high speed. And so you want to keep the bearings and things and stuff like that clean, and so they don't get gunked up but at the same point with that, though, all this oil and gunk that has been trapped now in the Sargasso Sea off the East Coast, that will help to contribute to ocean warming, to fewer currents, to less normal centrifugal force, if you will, the way the currents were running. I used to check the currents at least once a week, and I started noticing about a year or so ago that there were currents that we're crossing the equator, and that's not supposed to happen. Okay, the currents are supposed to northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, and the space, around the Earth, they swirl up next to each other, but they don't cross because that median of a ball, not on the flat Earth, because then this wouldn't work at all. But that the southern seas were moving at a greater speed than the northern feeds. And the northern feeds, because they were so slow, were allowing the southern feeds to cross the equator. And now that means that the Earth could be rolling over on its side. Now, many, many years ago, when all this Planet X and stuff, and there's still folks saying Planet X is out there, just saying. But it's not Planet X, it's the dwarf star. It's not a planet, but I digress. And they're still claiming that's the reason we're having all this trouble. Well, now, for a long time, it has been suggested that we're going into, because of the sun, when I was a kid, the sun was yellow. It ain't yellow no more. And somebody was making remarks. I was watching a program and they were going, and the two folks were talking, and you go, when I was a kid, I used to be able to look at the sun and squint and see it. You can't even get close to looking at it now. And I was outside today, nice blue sky, and I was like, can't even get close to looking at it now, even if I squint. So, but it's more blue. It's changed its frequency. So, we've got issues with, on one side of Antarctica, there's more ice now than there was before. And on the other side, there was a great big iceberg, and they calve. That's what they call it, calving. So they calve at times, but it was an iceberg the size of New York City, like Manhattan Island. That's a pretty big iceberg. But this still isn't necessarily out of the norm for the planet Earth, but it is out of the norm for you and me. And if you take large chunks of ice and remove them from one side and add ice to the other, it's like adding it. Just look at a car wheel. Anybody that knows that, their front end is out of balance and it's wobbling, it could very well be that it's out of balance. They take the wheel, they check it, and they put little wheel weight. I used to do it. So little weights on your wheels, right? And you get it so that no matter what the speed, the tire is balanced. The Earth is way out of balance in so many ways right now. So going the idea of the Ice Age. Now, there are some strange things, the polar vortexes and all that kind of thing. We'll see, because we've had some really crappy high temperatures. But having lived down here in the South most of my life, the winters aren't, the summers aren't necessarily getting hotter, because this last summer, it was warm outside, but I remember when it used to be over 100 on certain days. So it sort of comes and goes. And I think that's because of the Earth wobble, not so much about the modern minimum. But also that same point, the amount of sunshine that comes through my windows, the passive solar that my house has been here for 30 something years, right? I've had the property for almost 40, but the house, as I built it. But so I've been sitting here basically in this room with most of these same windows all this time. So I know today the house should have warmed up really nice, and it didn't. I was like, what the hell? I had to turn the heater on earlier than normal. But anyway, so the Ice Age. Now, a lot of folks are predicting, well, we're talking about climate, but global warming, and they're not pushing global warming as much as they are climate change. They've changed the rhetoric. So we have to look back and go, okay, so when did they change out of global warming to ding, 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 climate change. Global warming would be the same. All right. Hold that thought. Hey, Doug. So now something that I wanted to bring up to you, and Jody, he and I and some other folks on here, there is a YouTube channel called The Cause. Dante Santori, I've been watching him for years, and I'm fair to middling, Doug, and yourself? I'm back. I am a sun gazer. It's very difficult to look directly in the sun. Has been like that for 8 months now. Been like that for a few years, but I agree with you, David. There is no dark star, but there is truth to the sun changing colors. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sorry, but too many of us know that when we were kids, magnetism is the driver for weather on a large scale, high and low pressure, and all positive and negatives. Yep. Now, slightly slanted, there are those in the field that say there are anomalies that are happening to our solar system that could only be explained by a dark star. And I go, okay, I won't rule it out. But where it's supposed to be and the fact that it was supposed to already been here and the looping thing and all that, I'm just like, I think personally, I believe that we're getting hit as we have been both uh, prophets or seers or shamans or whoever. I know I've seen some stuff, and there's energy heading our direction. We're out here on the edge of the solar system, and we're getting slung around out here, And because of the solar system's position, the whole thing's getting smacked, It's not just the Earth, it's the whole solar system is getting whacked. And whatever's interacting with the sun and all these flares. Now, I got to throw this into the woo woo, okay? Because I've been watching the sun and the different, uh, C32, LASCO, and all them kind of satellites, right? And there's extremely strange stuff going on that is whizzing by these satellites. And anybody that wants to say, well, that's a diving comet. Really? Okay. And there are also those who have said, professed, and in a way I could understand it, that stars are portals. They're a gateway to another star. Okay. And I've seen too many of these things where there is an orb that either backs up to the sun. Now, if the sun's really that hot and, it's going to melt something, then how are these things like, showing up right next to it? But that as a portal, that you've seen some of these things ejecta, and there'll be this, what looks like a sphere gets popped out right along with it. Are these races that are using stars as literal stargates? Now, I wouldn't have said this 15 years ago until I started looking at the evidence with the satellites that are focused on the sun. And over the years, I've gone, well, this is bullshit. And now I look at them and go, look, there goes another one. Instead of, I don't believe it. In my shaman understanding of the universe, I have been told to open my mind to all types of possibilities, which means woo woo. Okay, let's just put it in that category. We're in woo woo territory. Now, I listened to Cliff High updated. He did a video today. Yeah, today. Um, Oh, Chloe's in the house. Hey there, Chloe. Um, yeah, they say the sun has another 4.6 billion years of life, unless Darth Vader comes by and blows it up. But I digress. There are so many changes within the universe. In my 68 plus years of living, I've seen it look like this, look like that, go from here, go from there. I mean, people talk about, well, it's hotter. Well, in the 1980, because it was the winter after I got out of jail. That's how I know. It snowed on March the 14th, 13th, 14th, right in there. And it snowed, listen to me, down here in South Georgia and stayed on the ground for 3 days. It was freezing. All the farmers and everything was blooming. We had all, because March 15th is 17th is like the beginning of spring for us around here. Stuff's popping up all over around here. The fruit trees and things are bearing. I would I would say that the azaleas be about to bloom within the next week. But anyway, there are vines that are yellow vines that are blooming, and it's going to be a nice spring. But a couple of years ago, it was already 85 degrees on a regular basis here. We didn't have a spring. Right now, it's in lower 50s, upper 40s outside. Springtime. Um, but 1980, which is how 20, 90, 2010, 40 years ago, it snowed in Norman Park, Georgia. It snowed all around down here. A few years before then, it snowed in Berlin, Georgia, which is even a little further south than Norman Park. The snow stayed on the ground for almost a week in places. It like to froze us to death because we're not used to that. So when people say, "Oh, it's global warming," well, yeah, but we've had some really cold snaps. Well, it can't go backwards. We've never had snow this late. I remember. You don't remember, but that's okay. But I do. I was there. I was cutting freaking firewood. My kid was freezing to death. The house was drafty. But anyway, yes, I remember. So are we going back to an ice age? Now, the situation is such that they claim that we're going to have shorter summers, but more intense. Okay, here's the thing. The earth is always changing. The universe is always changing. The ocean is always changing unless man mucks it up. But guess what? It's still changing. So, what should we do about this? Well, hang on, because they've already screwed up the Gulf Stream. And now there are parties involved that could probably help restart that. But here's the thing, my quote, visions, whatever, from Mother Earth is that Mother Earth needs to teach some people a lesson. To those people like, well, we can drill all the oil we want to. Well, we can do anything we want to. Well, we're the stewards of Mother. We can rape and pillage Mother Earth. And Mother Earth has said so many times, oh, yeah, it's not nice to piss off Mother Nature. So, and it's not that it's a retaliation. It isn't anything about revenge, but it is about the energy that was stolen from Mother Earth must be replaced, a yin and a yang. So all the suffering Earth has done because of man. I don't mean CO2 levels. No. I mean, I'm talking drilling, mining, throwing plastics out in the ocean, being just generally dipshit as a human population. Folks need to be taught a lesson, because without the lesson in life, this planet cannot survive if we continue on without learning a lesson from all this. That's basically the idea. Now let's throw this into some more woo-woo. Now, I have talked about this part before. I've talked about the Gulf oil spill years ago, okay? I've talked about the Gulf Stream years ago. Recently, and it was after watching one of Dante's videos about Princess Coronas. Now, y'all going into the woo-woo, let's just keep an because I looked at this and I went, son of the bitch. I mean, the things I knew about the oil and what they were doing back when it happened, to learn this little extra tidbit of information is like, oh, and why would it matter? Is it true or not? Let me take you on this little tour, this little string of thought, and keep your mind open because I've watched the information twice now. And if you want to watch it, just go to the YouTube channel, The Cause. And I can't remember which video it is, but it's been within the last day or so. But let me, Dante brought this up, that Princess Coronas. Now, if it goes back to the Greek, it will be spelled with a K. In Greek mythology, Coronas is a Thessalian princess and a lover of Apollo. She is the daughter of Pelagius, king of the Lapis, and Cleophemia. In some accounts, her father was Azazel, king of Arcadia. Her son, Asclepius, is the Greek god of medicine. Her son was the Greek god of medicine, okay? Loved by the god Apollyon. During her pregnancy, she committed adultery with a man named Ischus, and when Apollyon learned of this from a raven, he commanded his sister Artemis to slay her. The goddess did so, felling many others besides with her deadly plague arrows. Now, the deadly plague arrows tied to Coronas. Now, Dante said that back when they drilled into the Gulf of Mexico, there was this evil woman witch entity that goes back a long time, thousands and thousands of years. Every time there was one hell of a plague, Coronas, her essence was partially or fully to blame because she was an alien entity that came here whose energy and essence could not or would not, I'm not quite sure, but be compatible and cohabitable with the things on planet Earth. So long time ago, they couldn't kill her because she's a goddess. God, I hate to use the word goddess, but she's one of them, right? Small G. So they imprisoned her way, way down under the ocean, down in the Gulf of Mexico, way deep in some caverns, and she's been there all along. Well, there are a lot of weird stuff if you remember anything about that thing. Where they drilled is between like 2 or 3 fracture points on the bottom of the ocean. That was stupid. They weren't prepared with a blowback thingy. That was stupid. They were drilling in some of the deepest water. Why were they there? If the bad guys wanted to loose a plague upon the earth, the bad guys knew she was down there as a prisoner. So that when they drilled into the cavern where down yonder, it released her essence upon the earth. Plagues that are tied to the mythology 3,000 years ago. Okay. Now you say, well, okay, well, when I watched the video with Dante, he said, watch this. What is the name of the virus going on right now? Corona. Is it named after her? Because, you know, this will be 11 years that it's happened. So with all the crap that came out of the ocean, the stuff that we put in, but there are several things that, like, we can't shut it off. We can't slow it down. We can't. There was so much pressure there. And anyway, but if we look back to then, that was also, guess what? Just before 2012. Okay. In that area. So, because it happened in 2010. So was that in so many ways the beginning of the end for the planet? But here's the weird connected dots. Her son, okay, Asclepius, is the Greek god of medicine. But Coronis was known for the plagues. So the evil person made a good person, we'll say. But so here's the god of medicine, and what just happens to come up this last year. But of all the names they could have picked, right? I mean, let's think about this. Of all the names they could have picked, it's the coronavirus. Is it named after her? We should stop and scratch our heads and go, I know in my readings with spirit, in my contacts and so forth, when I saw that, I was like, Serge and I both watched it on television. We were mortified. We cried. I mean, grown men crying over what happened to the Gulf. But there was something else for me, and I think he picked it up too. We didn't talk about it, but it wasn't just the oil that was spilled. It wasn't just the Corexit being, put on top of the water, but there was something else that was sinister about the whole affair. Why they did it there, what the blah 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 blah, a lot of stuff. They never have really answered, So were the bad guys letting out a nasty essence back onto this planet when the Charistus had locked it up and taken it off? Couldn't get rid of it, so they buried her, and just said, there you go. You can live down there for the rest of your days. Not thinking that a bunch of idiots were going to go out in the middle of the Gulf and drill and you know what I'm saying? So, and also I keep going back to then why did they name it what they named it? Because, these folks just don't willy-nilly do stuff, They do things with a purpose. So the purpose of naming this virus after the lover of Apollyon, and the mother of the god that's, of medicine. What a strange woo 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 world we live in. Now, are you supposed to believe what I say? Or are you supposed to believe what with what Dante says? I have to take what he says because it feels right in here. I knew there was something else going on when it happened. That's why I go, oh shit. So that's why. Um, Alex, hi, how are you? Hi, Johan. Yeah, now we know what they know. Right. Alex said something up here. I wanted to go back. Amanda's in the room. Hi, Amanda. Oh, come on, you. This silly thing sometimes just will not work. Oh, exhale? Yeah, exhale if you got it. Oh, Mossy Man, how are you? Amanda B. And Ovid wrote about the plagues. Yes, yes, absolutely. So, whether or not this is absolutely true about this ancient lowercase God being sent down to, but the fact that her name was Princess Coronis, you know, and she was the mother of the god of medicine, I scratched my head, and the more I was like, oh, holy shit. That's why when this thing happened, the pit of my stomach, it wasn't just the oil, it wasn't just the Corexit. And I mean, me and my friend Serge, because he has worked with this stuff before. Corona is Latin is crown, maybe to do with the crown chakra. Could be, but the Coronis thing, oh my God, you gotta go, what a hell of a coinky dink, you know? And numerology also comes into play with this. Yes, Jojo. Absolutely. C19 was the common to pass when the pandemic started. Um, but you know, when I first looked into it, that one of the reasons it seemed that they couldn't get to um, natural substance. It occurred naturally, but they had to put all this other crap into it to make it a virus. Okay. So it's sort of like, I mean, but is any of that dirt going to kill you? Well, I've probably been in the dirt more than anybody else. I mean, I say that in that, as a gardener and a digger, and I dig my own well, and and being in mud up to my nose, and just stuff that if I was going to get something from the dirt, I'd be dead by now, I guess is where I'm going with that. I mean, I eat clay, so all right. But if people don't have those natural antibodies in their system, I think us old crazy folks that, live literally close to the dirt with dirt on our hands, that we're picking up germs that we have learned to be able to deal with. Where other people who live in clean apartments, everything's sanitary, they don't get any germs, they don't touch nothing, they wash to, and that they don't have any of the just absolute natural type of defense mechanism that those of us who play in the dirt do. I'm just saying. Um, there's been a lot of constructive thought over this. If you live in this perfect, everything's sanitary. I look at some of these people, the way they live, and yeah, okay, my house needs cleaned, but I could not live in a sterile situation. I would have to go out in the yard like Duggar and roll around in the dirt. I would just have to, But anyway, so in the woo-woo context of this, though, there are those from whom have a chat with me. They are truly trying to keep some of these evil mofos from doing any more harm to the earth. And that there are those on both sides, well, there are several sides, but that are on both sides going, are you sure you really wanted to do that? You know, is that really what you meant to do? You meant to let out the Black Plague? Is you did you like do that on purpose? Were you thinking about this ahead of time? You know, well, you know, we'll deal with it. She's on our side. Yeah, but that's like asking Godzilla if they'll come in and help, you know, take down a building in Tokyo. Well, you know, he's got to walk through half of Tokyo to get to that building, but you know, we're not going to complain about the rest of the destruction. No, I mean, but he got that building we wanted down. You know what I'm saying? So it reminds me of back when I first bought my property, all the pine trees were sold, but the oak trees and the hardwoods were not. So, but the guys that came in here, forestry production and has come a long way since then. But they came in and clear cut everything. It looked like a bombed out Vietnam in my backyard. That's what I not that I'd been to Vietnam, but my picture of all this trampled and all the trees gone and beat and torn and pushed and oh my God. And so the fact that there's a forest back there now in my lifetime is like wow. But anyway, there were trees down on the river that are hundreds of years old, old pine trees. And they're the longleaf yellow pine, which are on the endangered species list of trees. They're trying their best to like bring them back. That's what the sailors made they were so great that Georgia became a penal colony so that they could take the pine trees and the pine sap and use them on their sailing ships back in the day, just as a side note. But but they wanted to go for 10 trees, and I paid $100 a tree to, or $50 a tree it was. Anyway, I had to come up with $500 to buy the trees on my river so they wouldn't get to the river bank where these trees are standing. Now, I've lost a few over the years, but 6 or 7 of those mighty trees are still standing, and that's been 35 years ago. So there's another 35 years on the trees that were already 150 years old. So they're getting close to 200 years old. Huge pine trees. So in a way, they remind me of the redwoods, but they're nowhere near what the redwoods are because I've seen the redwoods. And majestic, and it's got that old feeling, and the bark looks different. But anyway, but they were just going to mow through an acre of land with trees and oak trees and small stuff to get to those 10 trees. And I was like, over my dead body. So I preserved those trees and a few others too, but in the deal. So from the woo-woo side of things, hold that thought. Great white grape. Hi, Isby? Is that you? Hi, Isby. Johan, let's see, anybody else new? Ian Barber, hi, how are you? I'm proud y'all are hanging out. So this is information, and I would rather have the information so I can look at it and go, that's a possibility. And hopefully, I think you all know that I don't do this because I'm here to try to, get you scared or, get your heart pumping or whatever. But there are things that we really don't understand that those people who call themselves experts, they've talked about this and that about the river here and all, and these guys don't know a clue. They put a meter somewhere in the river and they watch it. I can do that, but go down on the river, float the river, paddle the river at highs and lows, look at it, study it, live on it for a while, and then you tell me you know what you're talking about. Just saying. And it isn't just me. There are other people who live in, well, when my friend Serge was alive, down there in the swamp, we were always watching, the frogs and the this, and, frogs disappeared and snakes disappeared and this disappeared and what? So there are all these lower life forms that when a hawk is hungry, they'll eat a frog, you know. But if there ain't no frogs, if there ain't no snakes, if there ain't no rabbits around here anymore. Um, me and Duggar was taking a walk the other day, was checking out how deep the water was, and scared up a couple of mourning dove, which I was like, it frightened me because not because of the birds, but it was because, oh my God, they're dove. I can't remember the last time I'd seen any dove here, right? But so the earth is wobbling. Tonight, it was like we had rolled south a little bit because Orion was further north. That's how I look at it, right? When Orion sets in the southwest, like Doug, it was you, right? We were talking about it. That the earth has rolled farther north. We rolled this away, and so that would absolutely account for why did it get so bleeding cold. Not necessarily the snow, but how, bleeding cold it got for down in the south. So apparently, though, what is very interesting to me, I've been making these observations from my house, okay? And well, the Gulf Stream, that was science and study and people I knew that are marine biologists. There's a guy down in the on the coast down there in Panacea, and some other people. So, and people that Serge knew. But anyway, and then there's the general data that you can get from the ocean currents and so forth. But anyway, but the idea though that scientists are now worried about it, like what? And there was somebody said, well, the Earth slowed its rotation. Now, y'all know me. I've been talking about that the Earth will slow down, speed up in the course of one day. It'll lose an hour and then gain an hour. I don't know what the hell's going on, but instead of worrying, oh my God, we're going to die tomorrow, I'm like, well, isn't it fascinating that I can watch this on my own? Doug was watching Orion the other night from his location, and we both agreed it's set in the southwest. It was like not supposed to be there. Tonight it's way high and it's a little low off of the, overhead, but not bad. It's tolerable, very tolerable, like a kind of sort of a normal, but again, Doug, I don't know if you were on when I was talking about Orion tonight, that it was seemed high enough in the sky, but the belt seemed twisted somehow. It was like, I don't know, not we just hadn't rolled down, but we had done sort of like a turn. So we checked down and then turned up this way. It's hard for me to see now because it's way over in the trees. So that's why I checked it before I did this video. But anyway, it just looked like it was skewed. So not only do we roll over, we wobbled again. See, I love you, Doug, man. Somebody else that is going outside and just looking at where the position of things are. Does it look twisted, by the way? So there must be more. Holy crap. Come back here. You can't see the Orion belt here in Los Angeles. Yeah, I would bet, bossy man. There must be more earthquakes coming. Absolutely. Yep. Hi, Travis. You need to look towards Orion, but before Orion comes into view with a camera designed for capturing near infrared. Hi, Ed. I wish I had that, Travis. I really do. I've got scopes, telescopes, binoculars, that kind of thing. No cameras to do anything like that, but the stars down here seem rather close. Yeah, that was the other thing. Well, we've had a lot of atmospheric stuff, dust, clouds, whatever in the air the last couple of days with the front coming through. But last night, and I'm going to go back outside in a little bit and look back up. But the stars looked brighter, and which it makes it seem like they're closer. Now, here's something I have forgotten to discuss. There are many folks who have been talking about this over the last couple of years, and that I've talked about it in the past, and I just quit bringing it up because, when was the last time you heard about an ozone layer? When was the last time you heard about blah, blah, blah ozone? You haven't. It was said that back, 2008, 9, somewhere back in there, that our ozone layer just a really bad CME or cosmic something like to wiped us out as far as the atmosphere goes. So it's supposedly that our atmosphere is compressing. So let's say that, anyway, so there's less air on Mount in the on Mount Everest and then the Himalayas, but that the atmosphere is being compressed. It's denser, but it ain't as thick. So on certain, if the atmosphere was more or less dense on a particular day because of solar winds that would compact it along with the magnetic everything, so it would push the atmosphere really close, you might look up and go, crap, there's Jupiter, But if the atmosphere has expanded back out, it may seem that, wow, them stars are bright, but man, they're really far away, kind of thing. Anyway, just a theory, and which would create that optical reflection, deflection, from the star, the light coming through. The denser it would be, anyway, just there's a suggestion for you. Regine Holson. Yeah, global warming for days. But see, we ain't done with the warm weather. I mean, well, it's going to be warm these next couple of days. Yeah, but here's the thing. Usually there's a 20, maybe 25-degree spread. If it's in the summertime, I've been observing this for a while now. But it's 70 degrees in the daytime, but it's 30 degrees at night. So that's 60, 50, 40, 30. That's almost, it's a 35-degree temperature change from the daytime temperature to the nighttime low. It's usually around here, normal is 20, 25 degrees, right? Now, if a front goes through or something like that, but what we've had recently has been colder nights with the warmer days, at least 5 degrees colder, not necessarily colder than normal. That's not what I mean. Colder than that 20-degree spread. If it's 30 degrees at nighttime, it's 50 degrees in the daytime. Maybe 53, maybe 55, but then it'll drop back down to, 28, 30. Okay. So that's what I mean by that temperature spread. Now, I haven't checked that around the country, but I have observed it for the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years since I've really been paying attention, that this spread has been very consistent. There's the odd one. This year, though, the temperature spread is different. It's 30 degrees instead of 20 to 25 degrees. And it's being more consistent like tonight. Nice and warm this afternoon, but it's going to be, near freezing possibly tonight. It was in many places last night. Didn't even put wood in the heater. I was like, why? It was comfortable here in the house because we had sun, and that. And the other thing is at the end of winter, I've also got acclimated. There's probably 60 degrees here in the house, and I'm comfortable. Where 3 months ago, 60 degrees, I had the heater on. So I got firewood now. And it's late in the season. I'm probably going to have to just use it for campfire. It why burn it in the house anyway? But I got it, and it's split. Well, a lot of it is, and it's drying. But So, but anyway, as far as all of this other stuff, I thought it just interesting that I did the video about the Earth wobble and everything. And then, like, the next day, I get hit with three different things about the Earth and the Gulf Stream and all this. And then the republishing of the Princess Coronis and her son being the god who was in charge of medicine. That's just they don't, to make this stuff up. Oh yeah, there's a lot of other speculation. I get it, but that one like hit me, and I went, "Oh, son of a bitch!" These people do that kind of shit. As much as I would wish that they did not pull these kinds of cranky things on us, uh, you know, Mossy man, you live in the Mediterranean climate. Wow. Okay. 36 tomorrow, 72. Uh, Yeah, I used to live close near the beach when I lived in Florida, but um, son of God, bless you, Mossy man. I think mine just says idiot, or anyway. My thing about the ocean is, I mean, the river's bad enough; it comes up in my backyard. But I was out on the ocean, perfect day, not a cloud in the sky, early, April, maybe May, down in Panacea, out on the sailboat. We're just out past the channel. And we're out, we've got the sails rigged, the jibs going, 24-foot hunter, having a ball, just enough wind that it wasn't, nasty or choppy. Within 2 hours, the skies darkened and everybody headed to port. Well, we had a little bit of engine trouble. The prop fell off. Not my problem, somebody else's boat and motor. Whoever worked on their engine didn't put a cotter pin in to lock it down. And when we turned on the motor, which got us most of the way out of the channel, the motor was running, but we weren't going anywhere. We pulled it up, found out that the cotter pin was gone and that the propeller had literally propelled itself off the back of the engine. So, but we got sails. It's a sailboat. We'll get back to shore. That ain't a problem. Well, a storm came up. And I'm telling you, we went from, maybe 1.5 foot waves, maybe to 3-4 foot waves crashing over the side of the boat, lightning flashing, and we're stuck out there with no motor to get back in. And between the three of us, me and my friend Tommy, God love him, but he was on the bow holding on to a metal guy wire to the mast. Lightning crashing, and we're just heading through the yeah, that was fun. And then we got into the harbor, back into the marina. That's the word. It quit raining. The sun came out, and there wasn't another storm the rest of the day. But, okay. But anyway, we learned about high seas and storms, and so my my issue with the ocean is I like to go visit it, but I don't want to live on it, near it. Okay, but I moved up here to Georgia, and I'm just not moving back to Florida. That just ain't happening. I'll go visit, but I ain't moving back. I mean, we've had flash floods around here where I couldn't get out either direction because so much water had happened. So, I've had, and hurricanes have come through, knocked out all the trees that are down in my backyard. Oh my God, the trees that are down. Oh, that's why I couldn't paddle much. So many trees are down from the other guy's property and upstream from the bridge that has flowed down and gotten caught sideways on the trees. Oh my God, there are log jams and stuff. And that's why I can't walk on my property. All these trees and limbs and stuff, it's horrible. So not just my property, but other properties too, and this conjunction of trees and limbs across the property. Holy crap. But anyway, so yeah, there are many places in Georgia that are like, okay. And I've traveled all around Georgia. I am not lying. I've been up around Columbus. I've been over, we used to play the carnival over around Waycross and Homerville and all over there. I've done puppet shows on, in Savannah and Jekyll Island and starts with a B. Anyway, over there on the what coastline there is of Georgia. The Okefenokee Swamp, been there many times. We used to play Fargo down in Florida. Been to in fact, coming, oh man, it might be coming up. I wish I could get there. There's a powwow coming up, supposed to be in this month down there in that little Georgia and Florida come across like this, and then there's a dip and it comes back up, then it goes over towards Jacksonville. That little dip right there, there's a Southern Cherokee Nation that has a reservation kind of place there. Them folks are great. No, David, I don't know early. No, we do not need early warm weather. We do not. And the reason is because fruit trees, nut trees, and so forth have to have so many degrees of cold. And we have not had enough cold weather for the pecan trees or the peach trees that are down here. My berry trees, it hasn't been cold enough. And I've got pear trees and plum trees and another kind of tree over there. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, um, but it needs to stay cool for a little while longer. I don't mean snow 10 feet deep, but we don't need warm weather too soon. People want warm weather way too quick. Nah, 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 nah. Look in the old timers book. What is it? Old time sit on the toilet and Michelle. I have brownies too. I would love to go to Australia. That's our puppeteer mate. Awesome to keep the puppets alive. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been getting mine out. I'm trying my best for to get my puppets going again and start doing some shows. Here we are blessed. We have year-round fruit and veggies, all kind. Yeah, see, we don't get that down here. Right now, there are no leaves on any trees, but in 3 to 5 days, you won't be able to look through the woods. My first mayfly. Oh wow, interesting. Makes for lots of firewood, right? It has been cold in Kentucky, ice covered for 2 weeks. I'm not saying that we just don't want it to get too warm too quick. I love y'all, and I got friends of mine that live in Ohio, up just north of you. In fact, I, had my parents been married, I'd probably might have been born in Hazard County, um, or Hazard, Kentucky. So yeah, I get it. But folks down here like, ooh, I can't wait. And I'm going, you should wait because we're not going to have any fruit if you don't. I'm just saying. We have to have enough winter set so we can get, um, I mean, temperature, if you don't have enough cold days, it can affect all kinds of nut trees. How many acorns are put out on oak trees to you name it. So, yeah, David, I've been up. Let's see, what is the name of that town? That's right. Something Opolis. Crap. Um, I took pictures of all of the artwork that's sprayed on um, sprayed on the walls over there. Not is it? No, it's not Demopolis. Is it? No, Demopolis is in Alabama. Anyway, but I've been up that way several times when I go to Ohio to visit relatives. I love going. I hate traveling 75, but and when I got relatives on that side of the state, I go up that highway through the Kentucky. It's beautiful through there. And I've been all over Tennessee and all different places. Been to Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, camped there a few days, been around over in there. That's some interesting country there. Whoops. Two ice storms we went through. Gallipolis. Thank you, David. And that's on the Ohio side. And then on the Kentucky side, there's all those oil refineries there. Yeah. An indoor garden too. Yeah, project. I've really been working on my front porch out there. In fact, I was out there earlier today measuring and like, So it's going to be about almost 20 feet long by the time I'm done with the porch. And I've done a quick computation of how much concrete that I've hand poured, and I'm like, the other day I put in six 60-pound bags. So 6 times 50 is 300. So 310, 20, 30, 340 pounds. And I've done that one, two, three. There's over 1,000 pounds of cement out there on my front porch. And I'm not done yet. In fact, I've been banging up some of the old footer so that when I get over towards the matching it with the floor inside the house, um, that when I tear out that it's a really it's too narrow, but I'm trying to think of the name. Bay windows. I got bay windows and they're too small. It's not good for sitting in or nothing. It was really honestly a waste of time and space. So I'm going to, the porch will come into one side of a bay window, but my inside floor height and my outside floor height, I want them to be the same. So it's been touch and go. One of the reasons why it's taken me so long to pour the damn thing. But I reached over here to the bay window, and it's 2 concrete block high and then a window. So then those blocks are filled with concrete. So it's going to be fun knocking them out. But I want to be able to the same floor height as my porch and my inside floor in the kitchen. And I'm going to be really, really close. It'll work. But for those of you who may have seen one of my videos, I took what they call a partition block. It's relatively 3.5, 4 inches wide, depending on where they're made. And our hollow core, you can get them solid, but these are hollow core, and I laid them on each side. My friends were like, "Why are you doing that, Dave?" And I said, "Well, cement's one thing. It holds in a lot of heat, like I have here in my house, and I've got a lot of old brick that I've built in with the concrete for that. And there's a temperature difference from when the sun goes down and how much the brick is heated and how much the concrete is heated right beside it. So thinking, and I'm glad to say it's working, the airspace in those partition blocks, um, is an insulator from the ground. So the ground normally is 65 degrees, depending on where you are, but it's very consistent. That's why underground homes are so efficient, or earth burned homes are so efficient, which was my original idea for this. And then I messed up. But anyway, thermal mass is the most important thing. So, but in the sun shining out there on the floor while I was measuring today, the solid concrete, that's, the thickness of the block versus the block themselves, the block were warmer. And I was like, well, what? And I'm barefoot out there, tinkering around and knocking some dirt and leveling it out and doing some, getting ready for another pour, right? And I was like, well, wait a minute. So when the sun goes down, I was out there earlier and, just leaned over and felt the concrete is colder than the concrete block beside it. So in doing the house, doing the porch, I wanted to retain as much heat during the wintertime, and to keep the house stable. The other thing is I don't want to be too cold, because people, sometimes the floor is cold and you go, man, that's just uncomfortable. So without putting any heat in the floor, but by my doing the concrete block sideways, it's very innovative. It's a pain in the ass. Okay. Let me say that right off. But if I were younger, it wouldn't be so much. Um, and the fact that I'm starting from away from the house to match the same height as when I get over here. So I've been doing some shucking and jiving trying to get the height of the floor right. So it wouldn't be higher than my floor inside the house when I'm done. So, but anyway, I can already say that putting those blocks, sideways with the dead air space is absolutely like, that's a good thing. Maybe not for everybody, but let me tell you. So I used a piece of 4x4 as my spacing between the block, both end to end and side to side, so I could tamp it down good. But just here in the last couple of days with the cool nights and, lots of sunshine, plus I cut the trees down that was over on that area. So I'm getting a lot more sun now because I've cut the trees down and there's no leaves on them. So it's a good opportunity to be able to go, wow, that this experiment is working at the moment. So can't wait to get the walls and the ceiling up. Can't wait to put the windows in, because this summer it should work the same way in that, um, the concrete will be cooler because it won't get it near as much sun. The sun will be straight overhead, so very little sun. Lots of light will come in, but very little direct sunlight. So the ambient temperature through glass, I'll lose some heat in that, but or cooling, I guess. But the idea that I'll have a porch to be able to, is it? Yes, yes, 420 somewhere. Thank you, Doug. Yeah, smoke if you got them. I got one that's half packed. Travis, see you. Love y'all. Yes, the oil refinery is at 10 minutes. Yep. I want to get back up there. I don't know if I'll get too old to drive myself, but I would love to get back up there. I want to get back up to Ohio and go back out there to the where the petroglyphs are near Chillicothe. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Woo! That was a good one. So to kind of wrap this up, the subject matter of the Earth wobble and so forth. Um, from my intuition, my downloads from my dear friends up yonder, to observations and now other scientists, you know I did not want to be correct about the Gulf Stream, but it is what it is. And so what we saw coming 10, 11 years ago is it's here. So how do we live through it? We just hang on. We do the best we can. The ancients got by one way or the other. Um, Regardless of who named the virus, the fact that there are entities and folks on a much higher, not necessarily higher plane of thinking, but they're just in a whole nother world. And as much as I've tried to tell everyone, there is no box to think out of. That's the first thing. Somebody says, well, I'm thinking out of the box. Well, then there is no box. Okay. There's folks who are, that are starting to criticize the Big Bang thing. And I'm like, yeah, all that matter out of nothing, come on. But they're starting to think differently as far as maybe we came from another dimension and spewed out into this one, which is sort of where I'm coming from. In that we look at our universe and think it's big. And actually, we're like somebody popped a pimple and that's what spurted out. There's a whole nother universe of stuff. And we just popped out. Okay. I know that's a horrible way to kind of put it, right? But with the cosmic studies and things, folks are like, this Big Bang thing, and this. Anyway, so in the area of woo woo, as Cliff High was saying, and I agree with him on quite a few things, is that the technology that's supposed to be coming out, it's right around the corner. Lots of folks have been working on it, kind of in the industry, like when I started doing some research on batteries. There are people that knew, thank God, 10 years ago, like many of us. I'm like, so what are you going to make a battery out of? And folks are making earth batteries. I mean, literally taking two separate kind of metals, fill a piece of plastic pipe up with dirt and rocks and stuff, add a little water, maybe add a little magnesium or something to it, not milk of magnesium, but, to soak your feet with, and just mix it in with the soil. And then you use a zinc rod on one side and a copper rod on the other. And the result is that you can store electricity in earth batteries. And all you got to do is just keep the material damp. All right. And they will kind of sort of recharge on their own. Now you can recharge them with solar, blah, blah, blah. But to the point though, if you don't use them, they kind of sort of just recharge on their own. It's low voltage, got to have a bunch of them, but that ain't the point. That there's energy literally out of the dirt. And as Tesla proved, there is energy. There are guys that have been stringing, get this, old coax cable, okay? Like like from your satellite dish, or if you got satellite or whatever, right? So ain't nobody out there. There's nobody out there. There's a dog barking up on the hill I can hear. And he's answering. He's like, there's no window, but he's standing there like he's looking out the window. He's staring towards the direction of the bark. But anyway, and oh yes, he's had a lot of good fun in the woods the last couple of days. We've been down there clearing out. I've been clearing out the area where I had my first sweat lodge. Whoever's barking up on the hill is really dry. He don't normally bark like that. I hear him. Just you can't do nothing about it. I don't know if he can hear you, buddy. But anyway, so I've been cleaning out the limbs and branches and too many trees and the damn privet hedges and trying to make a spot big enough to put my teepee tent, and also clean up the area because I want to rebuild my sweat lodge, because the rocks are already there. Most of the earth and everything has been done, but it's been waylaid for the last 6, 7 years, and things have grown in there. So I've really put an effort here recently where I probably should be working in the house or something, but it's been so nice outside, to like, nah, if I don't do this now, it'll be difficult to do later on, because of the heat. Me and the heat just don't get along anymore. But so I'm really pleased with that. I got a couple of trails opened up enough to where it's not perfect, but you're not bumping in and poking you in the eye and stuff like that. So, and I'm opened up another section again today down there, and burned some, there's pine straw down there that's like this thick. It's way too thick, and I'm gonna, if it'll quit not rain for a day or two, I'm gonna go back down there and set some of this on fire because it really needs to get burnt. A lot of dead wood, a lot of dead things standing. And so going to go back down there and sit by the campfire, if you will. Um, Take my camp chair back down there. But they're calling me to do a drum. And doing a drum in the yard, yeah, doing a drum over there, yeah, but to have my space back that I had consecrated as sacred spot. And we had some really nice fires down there. Whether we did um, a sweat lodge or not, the fire pit down there and everything is a nice little cozy spot, trees around, and and so nice place to go. So I'm trying to bring that back, and I really want to go down there and drum. It's opening up to where places up here, not so much, and to have a fire. So that's sort of, I guess, one of the reasons. It's a really good excuse, but it's a damn good one. I gotta admit, to want to be able to go down and do a fire and have a drum. So, and I think it's because spring is here, and I've been working towards that, and the rain has kind of kept me from doing some of this stuff, but we're supposed to have a few days in a row now. That's good. So, and temperature won't be too bad. It'll be nice and cool in the evenings. That's good. And I've got enough gumption in me going right at the moment that it's like, my back when I was growing up, my philosophy was every day is a holiday. So now it's like I that I'm retired, and I don't drink booze anymore or anything like that. I got my pipe, but all the other stuff I used to do, oh God. But the fact that though every day is kind of sort of a holiday, but it's actually no, I actually it's a work day. And I don't, which is strange. Well, I'm retired now. Yeah, but going down and clearing out a trail, being able to go down there, and once the trail's cleared, then I can sneak down at nighttime too. Oh, by the way, um, this is just a tidbit for y'all that's still hanging out with me. Um, Ashland, that's the name of that town. Ashland. Ashland. That's the name of the town I was trying to think of. Who'd I miss? Anyway, experiences are fun. Yeah. Mark my words. Uh, we will have a magnitude 9 higher hit somewhere in the Pacific. Um, I hate to say, but I feel it happening. Hey, Teresa. Look who you woke up to. Blessings to you, dear. Haven't chatted in a while, but I've sent you a lot of good. I'm always trying to send. I'm here's an cordial cosmic waves. Cordial cosmic waves. CCW. Cordial cosmic waves. because during the day I'll think of several of you for whatever reason we're having a conversation, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's Doug, or that's Dave, or that's Teresa, or that's Michelle," or blah, you know. It is sort of like a cordial cosmic wave. I love it. I hope y'all are giggling because I am. Almost wet myself right then. There is an old Kingston Trio song: "Be a landsman, a pinsman, a, a tinker or a tailor, a doctor, a lawyer, a rich man, a sailor, a fool or a witty. Don't let her die an old maid, but take her out of pity." Anyway, I was thinking that the tinker. I tinker around, but I also tinkle around a little bit too much in my old age. I wish they made pads for men. Sorry, off on the top. Maybe they do, and I haven't. You know, uh, for little tinkle times. You know, I don't want to have to wear Depends. I'm not going to crap myself or like flood me, but you know, there are times when I'm like, son of a bitch, it came out and I didn't know. You know, so incontinence or whatever it is, but you know what? There's an old box of Kotex in there. I should just take some and just cut a spot about that big. Anyway, duh, I'm gonna have another hit. That was some pretty good stuff in there. Anyway, that and I'm just feeling silly. Being able to go down in the woods, not that I can't, but it's been crappy. It's been rainy. It's been getting, and I just haven't felt like it, which is a shame. But in my, well, ever since the first of the year, actually before, you know, I'm trying to get to places to cut firewood. Well, as I've been making trails to get to the firewood from the trees that have fallen, now it's springtime. I don't need the wood. You know, I'm going to go ahead and cut it up because it'll make some really nice firewood for the campfire kind of thing, you know, and I won't, if I cut it all up now and get it out of the way, which it's sort of in the way, I'll just go ahead and cut it up and stack it between a couple of trees down there in the woods near where the um, sweat lodge is. So I know if is this be out on still? Anyway, and this is something that I think I'd like to pass along to folks. And having conversation with different people, and Isby was one of them. Not to like pull him out of the hat and pick on him. That's no. But I was thinking about this in terms of ceremony. So I want to rebuild the sweat lodge. Now I shouldn't do it on my own, but there's been enough times to where I could do a short sweat lodge and I'd be okay. You know, but technically you shouldn't really do them by yourself. The rocks, when you move them, you should have somebody there in case one or the other of you pass out if it gets too intense. I mean, you know, so the safety in numbers kind of thing. It's also easier to do when you're moving big rocks that you're heating up. So when we did it up right, man. Whoa. But anyway, so in doing it, there is the ceremony of making it. And I've got a lot of privet type trees and small trees down there that I literally left a couple of them standing going, I'll be back for you because I'm going to use it for the frame to build the sweat lodge. So basically, it's a wiki up kind of deal where you make it like a basket, an upside down basket, right? So you stick the twigs in and you bend them over and then you connect them at the top. And then you do it again as big as it is. So this is sort of circular, So you get on this side and put two. Then you come over here and you bring two. So in a way, you're sort of making a dome tent. Just thinking of it in those terms. And instead of having fiberglass thingies, which actually I have quite a few, but in order to do it traditional, though, you ask the tree, you bless the tree, you cut the tree, and then you build the sweat lodge, you build the frame. So, in a true sense of ceremony, the ceremony starts actually, I guess, before you cut your first limb or whatever. I know the dog up on the hill is just raising hell. Duggar, Duggar. No, you can't go out because you'll be up on the road. No, you is not going up on the road. No. I know. Good dog. Good dog. Say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Turn around, say hi. Hey, turn around, say hi. He looks a little yellow. It's the light that I'm using. I'm using a yellow light. Calm down. He's just a trembling. Calm down. Calm down, boy. It's okay. You good dog. You a good dog. You a good dog. You a good dog, but you ain't going out. Sorry about that one, but I learned my lesson the other night. He was out there, could not find him 2 hours later, and I'm calling him, walked up the driveway, can't see him. He was somewhere down in the woods, which I would rather him be instead of up in the neighbor's yard, but he would not come back. So I was like, oh shit. Because there are folks around here that have chickens and, anyway, but tonight I was like, but he came from the woods. So the more we go traveling in the woods back there, I would much rather him learn, ooh, I'm going to go across over here. He came in the house yesterday. He'd been running through the mud that was back there. For you latecomers, I did get a chance to kayak in my backyard the other day, and it was hot. The water in my backyard was higher than it was the week before, because the ground was already saturated and already water standing. That 2 3/4 inches that we got here at my house, it it's still seeping out of places out of the hill. A couple of places I didn't know there's sort of springs, um, and because the hill that I live on, it kind of drops off, okay, and then goes down towards the river, goes down towards the river. So this little drop off from the field, there's water in different places where it's just pulling the water's just coming out of the ground. It just seeps out. And if you stop and dig a little bit, you can actually see it flow. It's really slight, but it's there. So the fact that I've got several of these along the edge of my field and, into the woods is like, that's a good thing. So, but at the same time, it makes it really gushy in spots. I was like walking along and it was just looked okay. And then all of a sudden I was like this deep because it was so much water right there. And for those of you who may not know, and it because the weather has been so raunchy around here and not enough water, we haven't had many crawdads, mud bugs. And there are two different kinds down here, the aclochny, this, and there's something else. But anyway, they like almost disappeared because there wasn't enough water. So they like water standing right about now in spring. And you can tell if you're walking down in the woods, you'll see this pile of mud, this big with a hole, depending on how, and right now, you'll look down that little hole and you can tell where the water is, because of that hole. Well, there's a crawdad down there, and they lay their eggs down in while it's like that. And so they come up to feed and eat the grass and leaves and dead stuff. Crawdads love to eat uh, rotting materials, basically, sort of like a crab or a lobster kind of thing. In the other, but anyway, So used to be walk in the backyard back here, and there would be these crawdad tunnels all over the place. And now it's like, oh, look, there's a crawdad tunnel. Oh, way over there, there's another. There used to be three, four, five, six. They used to be all over the place. I I haven't seen any crawdad tunnels in a while. They're coming back this year because it's so wet. That's a good thing, right? Local mud bugs with, a little extra protein if you're starving or whatever. It's real easy to make um, a lobster trap. I've made some really small ones that you can take with you camping, and you just put a little weight in there and a piece of chicken and toss it over the side of the boat, or whatever with your camping. You take it and chunk it out there in the stream, and then every couple hours you go out there and pull it in, and you can pull it in, and their little eyes will shine when you use your flashlight. Oh, flashlight. That was what I was going to say. For those of you who might go out at night and are walking around, and you don't want to be seen per se by the wildlife. You want to sneak around, and you got one of them headlamps. Don't put it on your head, period. Okay, don't put it on your head, because I'm be down in the swamp, and when we had a lot of visitors here, you could see for a half a mile through the trees at the headlamp, red or now if use the red, it's the best, okay? But they're using this white light, and their heads going around like this, and it's shining off of leaves, and and so, but when you're walking and you're looking left or right, whatever, and you got that damn headlamp on, if you're the guy on the other side watching you come at me, I can see you forever. Here's the trick: you're moving your head around, you're doing all this. You fix it so you wear it on your belt. You put it around your waist. Why? Because it keeps the light down low. So you can turn your head all around, but your body's still just walking in one direction. So the light isn't squiggling around and doing all this. The other thing is, at waist level, normally there are bushes and trees, and if you aim the thing down at your feet, or towards the path or trail, then it's not going to be shining up, and you can sneak up on a whole lot of stuff. Okay, but if you put that thing on your head, and even with the red lamp, just saying, uh try it with your friends, because we would do these things. It's sort of like playing capture the flag at night, and it was to see who could sneak up the closest without using a light or however he wanted to. So we'd be sitting at the camp, um, Gray Wolf and I, and uh, Nate and what you call it. Jamie would go back to the house for something. So then they would, on their way back, they would try to sneak up on one of the trails, however, wherever they wanted to come in from, to just, so it was a game that we played. And one of the first things we found out was, don't put the light on your head. You can be seen for half a mile, quarter mile, even in the dense wood is what it used to be back here. You can still see that light from a long way off. So you want to sneak up, put it around your waist. Get one of them. I got one of them little fanny pack things that I wear in the front, and I got it so that, and I've got a couple of them, and so I got it so where I can clip one on and turn it on, and it gives me plenty of light for my feet and everything, and it doesn't blind me and not going around like this, and I can always reach down if I needed to do anything with my hands, and put my hands down at my waist, and I got plenty of light. So, but anyway, that's just a sort of, if you're ever trying to get around and you don't want nobody to know you're doing it, don't put one of them things on your head. you know, if you're working around the house or whatever, but I'm talking about the sneaky part, or out in the woods when you don't want to, scare off any wildlife or whatever. Just saying. But yeah, I've been working outside on doing those kind of things when I should be cleaning the dead gum house. Had a really good day last Friday. Not so much this Friday because I've been playing outside, but I really want to get the sweat lodge going. What date is? I know I can look, but Michelle, you and Teresa, somebody out there probably knows the date. Yeah, it's 12:45, 11:45 there. Oh, thank you, Teresa. Just that reminded me for something. I'm going to go back to the sweat lodge thing and the ceremony thing. Was talking about the sweat lodge and I got carried away into the woods, but I'm out of the woods back in the clearing now. And the thing about a ceremony, so some I've had several people ask me, but Isby and I talked about this, and I said he asked me if I could do a ceremony for him, like here. And I was like, yeah, but the kind of ceremony that I'm used to doing, have been trained to do, you need to be here. I couldn't do a prayer ceremony and a thingy, but if somebody needs a cleansing or a thing or something, if you really need it and you really got to have it done, it's really best if you're there. I mean, giving somebody a massage over the internet is sort of what it would be like. A hands-on approach would be the best thing, and not so much the hands-on from a shaman, myself or someone else. It's not necessarily the hands part of it. It's the joining of the spirits during the ceremony. It's the participation in the ceremony. So there are folks that, well, I'm gonna light some sage and I'm gonna do a ceremony. Yeah, okay. With It's almost willy-nilly. It's almost like, well, I'm going to light some incense and perk up the room or something. Well, I'm going to light this sage, and somehow by lighting the sage and by, they consider that a ceremony. But the action there is not met with the correct intent. That's where just put out good intent. That's why I saw that what Teresa wrote. Um, the three levels of magic. One is cards and wands and staffs, and that's level one. Level two is signs and sigils in the air. Level three magic is just doing it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Um, there are times back when I was doing a lot more ceremonies per se than I am now in learning, understanding, and now every day is a ceremony for me. Just waking up and saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm I'm still here, or I'm back." Maybe that's a better way to put it. I'm back from wherever my tiny little brain has been wandering recently. But here's the thing, though: to just light an incense and saying, "Well, that's my, I'm lighting it. It's going to make me feel better." Blah blah blah. And I'm thinking of some folks that I've known in the past who would light it and go, "Well, it just didn't work. I lit the incense like you told me, and it just didn't work." Yeah, can you hear yourself? You know, When I tried it, it just didn't work. Yeah, stop. You gotta calm down here. So if I was in a funky mood the other day, right? Just couldn't shake it. I think I might have did a video and talked about how, it was just strange. And today was like that. There was like a skip in there too. But um, yeah, there's that's I'm almost through with this bit of sage that I have been burning for quite a few times. But so there are times when I light the sage because I want to get to feeling better. So my intent is fully that I'm going to light this sage, and because I'm thinking it with intent, it's a it's a little bit of a ceremony. So when you learn to accept it every time that you do it, then so every time that you light the sage, it becomes a ceremony. But there are people who will light the sage expecting a ceremony, expecting something to happen when they light the sage. Now, so it's expecting, and then there's just, here we go, lighten it. My intent is pure. And what I expect out of lighting the sage is that I just want to change my vibration. There's something that's a little out of whack. I just want to get my stuff kind of listen. Hey, dude, let's see if we can't put this in a better perspective. So, and then there have in the, I can use myself as this example because I would light it almost in frustration because I was like, so yeah, let me light this. Oh my God, I'm freaking out. That's okay. But there are people who take advantage of it in like, well, I lit some sage today, and well, I don't know, just nothing really happened, and you ain't going. That's way up the hill. So my point to this is that when I'm lighting this sage, I'm lighting it as a mini ceremony because in my years of practice as a shaman in training, that every time I light sage, I know that I'm going to have some prayers, and I want those prayers to be carried up to the heavens, to Great Spirit, to the universe. So it's ingrained in me because I've done it so much over the years. Where some people just light it and go, well, that's not necessarily bad, but when you learn to take the simple thing and use it more efficiently, I guess it's spirit energy wise. So I'm lighting this here to have some prayer, very simply, that everyone can, continue to have, as much peace because, uh, to be as positive as possible. We just got some stuff that's coming. But here's the thing, since I was a little kid, there's always something. We lived through Hurricane Donna. We lived through Hurricane Camille. I've lived through Hurricane this and that one and this one and the last one that went through here, and then all the tornadoes and everything. Made it through it. Was it bad? Hell yeah. Scared the shit out of me, that last hurricane that went through here and the tornado that went over the house. Oh, yeah. And I don't scare easy. I've been out on the ocean in a sailboat in a gale. I'm good. To the east, I thank you, and to all the elders that live there. To south, I thank you, and to all the elders and beings that live there. To north, I thank you. Blessings to all the elders and the beings that dwell there. To the west, to all the elders and all the beings that dwell there, I say thank you. To the up, to the down. Hey ho, hey ho, and to the inside. May the smoke of this sage and all of the prayers with everyone that's here with me tonight be offered up to the Great Spirit with a positive intent. We continue to pray for peace and love. We send this to the universe, so all who need it. We are grateful and thankful for all the things we currently have, and no matter how bad it can be, we still have each other, regardless of the distances, regardless of our differences. We are still members of the League of Like-Minded Beings. We are still members of the Soul Tribe. We are all members of the Universal Tribe. And from the Creator, we are all the same. None is greater, none is less in the eyes of the Creator. When you learn to accept this on a day-to-day basis, your whole system will calm. There is a calmness that comes with it. So the intent of lighting this was I wanted to get a little feeling here, but y'all are here and it felt kind of like, I really want to do a drum. Oh, my question is, somebody will tell me, when is the first day of spring officially? When's the vernal equinox? 17th, 15th? I think it's the 17th, ain't it, of this month? Which means I got to get my collective stuff together. If anybody's in the neighborhood and you want to do a sweat lodge with me, stop by. I was trying to, I can't get Wi-Fi out there. Is it the 23rd? Is it that late? Okay, that just gives me more time. But I think part of the reason for my cleaning out some of the bushes and trees and stuff, they're going to, when it turns spring, they're going to grow even bigger and be more of a pain in the butt. So trying to get to some of this early, but also so it can dry so I can burn it too. That stuff that limbs and things, these privets down here, oh my God, they take over. You have to cut them back or they will it's nasty. So and they'll crowd out other trees. It's March 20th. What the hell? No, I don't want to share the live stream. Not at the moment. You're very welcome. The first time I in the store was hit the Powerball. Wow. Yeah, it's about time for the iris to bloom here too. I've got little daffodils and stuff that are blooming. But yeah, part of what I've been shooting for, I guess my shaman has been sort of in a coma recently. And this year it's like, nah, Mandy Moose sent me something and it was like, there something about coming future, something. And I'm like, okay. So, but in that though, I was like, I'm not getting any younger, but I refuse to try to get older. So, the more I sit in this chair, the more I'm making up an excuse to like not go out and, and blaze a trail through the swamp, it's like, okay. And I was talking to a friend of mine today who's 2 years younger than me, and he goes, I don't see how you do it. He said, I couldn't do it, and I'm younger than you. He goes, you get out there and you blaze and trail. I said, yeah, I mean, I did a pretty good clean job, but about 2 hours worth. And then it just got too dark, and I was really hurting. I was like, that's enough. But it's clear enough I could take a tent down there. The other thing is not necessary. I do want to take my tent So if I want to take a couple of things down there and zip it up, it'll be, relatively safe. I don't have to tote it back and forth to the house, like a chair or something like that or whatever down there. So it's just far enough away from the house that you don't want to go back and forth a bunch. Take a couple things down there, and it's an older tent. I need to take a tarp down there, but I want to take my hammock so I can string it up between two trees. So I've been cleaning out between the trees, choosing which trees do I want to hang from, kind of thing. And because for a person my age, I've been playing with the hammock thing for several years now. And I went down on the river and down, and just hung out, literally just, stepped out of it. 2 feet away was the river, right? So, I mean, literally right on the edge of the river. Depends on the trees, right? But with enough rope and enough tension, you can have two trees across something, and you got to play with the sag. But here's the thing I learned: regardless of where I went, what this little 4.5, 5 pound bundle of hammock does is, as soon as I string it up, I have a place to sit that's off the ground. I have a place to put my stuff that's off the ground. So I can string it out and then put stuff in it and I can sit on it. I've got a chair. I can lay in it if I want. I can put my gear at one end so I have an instant piece of furniture that I can untie really quick, stuff back in the bag, and I'm out of there. So when traveling light, I have done this now, carried, a small camp chair or something. But if you got to pick the right place, you don't need a camp chair per se. You got your hammock you can sit in, So, and it's light and easy to carry and all that kind of good stuff. So, but so if I want to go down there and, at 2 o'clock in the morning, go, come on, Duggar, let's go down there and build a fire and sit around and drum for an hour or something like that. It's a little too far for the Wi-Fi, but, I would like to take a camera and videotape some of it anyway, and then upload it. So I got a new router, thingy DSL. They checked my line and I was having issues before. They got a new DSL thing at the top of the hill because we're so far out in the country. And so far, so good. But I would really like to do a live stream drum fire. So I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet, but we'll see. But if I don't do it live, I'll record it. But I'll tell everybody, hey, look, I'm going to do a drum, say like on the 17th or the 20th, on the 17th is St. Patty's Day, ain't it? That's the 17th. Anyway, but, if I can't do it live, then I'll say, okay, everybody, I'm going to do one tonight if you're of a mind, give 5 minutes of your thoughts and the prayers are going to go out, and my drum, then your intent, your consciousness then will be tied with mine, and I'm going to do a drum. Okay. So that's the other kind of like, how am I going to do this out there? But I'm piling up some stuff out there. I got to check and see how good my, since I got this new Wi-Fi, it's stronger than the last one. So I'm going to take my setup and walk out in the yard and see how good my signal is. I haven't tried that yet because the weather's been bad. But anyway, so got a couple of days in a row here that's supposed to be nice. So I would like to try that. And if it works, then I got a big pile right out here that I can drum and be able to do it live. And yeah, be able to do it live. Yeah, because I'll be able to reach it Wi-Fi wise in the yard. And cutting down these nasty privets, I got several piles, like, down over here on the edge of the woods. There's a pile over there. There's a pile over here where they were all at, and I cut them down. Open it up so my rose bush will bloom this year. They were covered up by these dang bushes. So, and some other stuff too that I planted in supposed to be a long row of garden and flowers and stuff, and the damn privets have taken it over and overshaded everything, and they're the ones that took over. My two rose bushes I lost in there somewhere, and a cactus plant, and all because of these dang privets. So every spring and every fall, I cut them, cut them. Um, Yeah, I don't do spells either, David Castle. That was my statement earlier about that. Is that if we need in the layers of magic arts, there are those spells, wands, staffs, even crystals. Now I take a little, because there are certain crystals that I wear and I consider them part of my being, if you will, and that is also my power. But I don't do spells. But I will do prayers. And the prayers are, in a way, a type of spell. If you want to use, I don't like using that word at all because of the connotations. But by saying a prayer, by offering a prayer, and that is my intent, like what Teresa's talked about, by inviting you all to join me in a drum to help spread peace and love and kindness to the world, and just this counteracting positive force against the negative without anything else in between. I don't need a spell for that. All I need is my intent and the words to Creator. I wish to, my prayer is that we as the collective wish to send our prayers of kindness. That's the spell. That is it. The prayer is the spell. So, but other things are attached to stuff, and that the best prayer is the one you say at the moment that you speak it. That's the best magic because it is at the moment, at the time. It isn't pre-thought of. Well, if I'm going to do a drum, of course I'm going to have some pre-thoughts and stuff. And I've done this so many times. So there are certain things that are automatic to me that I will include in my prayer, that I thank the creator and I thank the stars, I thank the universe. But the spirits told me several years ago, you 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 can use chanting, you can use drum, you can use your spontaneous prayer, because that's the greatest gift to the universe, is at that moment. So using somebody else's prayer, there's some really, now don't get me wrong, there's some really good prayers out there. There's some native prayers and things that just, thank you, creator, thank you, great spirit. There's some really great prayers out there. But as a shaman, and having talked with others, that's using someone else's words to get your point across. So me as a shaman, then I use my energy, I use my words, I use those actions which are required at the moment of the ceremony. So that if I'm like, well, I'm going to do this spell and I'm going to say this and that, that's just stop and think about that a second, because it took me several years and I went, oh shit, I get this now. I get it. I'm trying to use somebody else's magic, somebody else's spell, somebody else's something, and I'm trying to make it work for me. And that ain't how it works. You have to tap in to the energy that's there. But to the other medicine people that I have spoken with and folks like that, though, what comes from our heart at the time is very similar because we're part of the collective of Great Spirit. So, but anyway, toss that out there. It's kind of like casting a spell, but it ain't. It's you're giving good spells bad intention because at one time you thought the perspective of spells have it. That's not it, David. That's not it. Um, it's not you're giving spells bad intentions. That's not it. It's because it's someone else's words. That's what they explained to me. I'm using someone else's words, someone else's magic. They could use it, they say it. Um, but it's not that I think spells are good or bad, it's for whoever. But in the realms of quote magic, it's not necessary when you realize that it is someone else's stuff. It's like if I read Catholic prayers all the time, then I'm using their magic, you see. I'm using their words to get whatever it is to the universe. What I need to do is listen to my own spirit and to listen to the creator and listen to the universe. And then my prayers automatically come out as they're needed, as they're necessary. And the more I tried at one time, I tried this repetition thing. I tried to like say the same kind of like, it was a simple prayer, but I tried to say it the same time, the same way, part of the thing. And I got this disgruntled look, if you will, like I'm sitting here with my hand on my knee, and there's this guy looking at me with his hand on his knee, going, "Are you serious? Is that the best you can do, Hawkeye?" And I was like, in the middle of it, and I was like, "What? What did I do wrong?" And they were like, "You're just repeating something for the sake of repeating it." But I thought it was a prayer. Yeah, but it ain't yours. It's not your prayer. And I went, oh, golly. And you talk about a whole nother level of boing at that one moment. So saying certain things, I always say greetings and blessings, but Jesus and other folks and other, wise men, if them wise, over the years have always, peace be unto you. And I find that just like an acceptable thing to say to people, or namaste or something like, but peace be unto you, or, mine is greetings and blessings to all, and I do mean that every time I say it. And because I've been saying it with intent for so long, I can feel this is weird, y'all. Okay, this is weird. I can feel when I say it at certain times, it goes all the way down to my toes. When I say it, it's like it's not just from here. It's like when they teach us in choir to sing from your diaphragm and to sit up straight and to sing from not your lungs but from your diaphragm, and so that you can hold the notes longer and blah blah, etc. So, but in having the intent, and because I'm retired, okay, and I don't have things that interrupt my life, so I can stay in this sort of meditation, if you will. When I was younger, I would go to Catholic monasteries and ask the priests there, you're giving up your life for every day is prayer. Well, yeah, we do some other things, but basically. So how can you just like wake up every day and this is what you do? I did not get it 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when I asked the questions. I understand it a lot more now. Oh, I get it. But see, giving yourself up to God, Jesus, however, and I say working for the church, you got somebody, you got to do stuff, but But to do it on your own is really hard. You got to have a place to live and blah, so, but in my older age, especially since I've retired, I can really see how waking up every morning, like the Dalai Lama, if you keep that frequency and all day has been sort of like humming along, okie dokie, then you go to bed with that same feeling. You wake up with that same feeling. And so after a while, you don't actually come out of that feeling. It just kind of sticks with you. So it's sort of like a bad cough. No, I'm kidding in that respect, but in trying to understand this myself, because I am in this up to here, So looking back, just as a comparison of my question, how can this be done? How could you do this? How is this possible? And now learning how to do it and living it, walking the talk, I guess would be how the expression goes with the natives and other folks too. But, just don't talk the talk, but walk the talk. And, I slip here and there. I'm a human being, for crying out loud. But my slipping from side to side is a lot more narrower than it used to be, because I go, and I ain't sliding over there, and I'm not sliding over there. I think I'm going to kind of keep it between these trees right here. There's some bad briars over there, and I ain't going over there, unless I got gloves on or something. But anyway, so we can prepare ourselves for certain things, and the briar patch is a really good sort of analogy, in a way that there are times when we get into thorny areas. Now, for me, I was into wands and crystals and this, and having candles everywhere, and everything had to have a little altar. Everything had to be just right, and don't touch the stuff right there. And then I had this realization one day. It's like, spirit looking at me going, do you see how dumb that is? But I got the crystal there, and I got the thing, and I got my dye and my incense, and but that's not the only place that's sacred. What? I asked them. Well, you got this little altar, and you go over there and you pray. Well, why can't you pray over there? Why can't the altar be in that window? Why does it have to be at that wall? That's where I put it, as a special place. Well, so's outside. So's over here. Every place is special, not just where you put your altar, but I'm making my prayers. And this is, yeah, but, and I was like, oh. Now, there's nothing wrong with having like a place for your stuff. Okay, that's not, but from my point of view, and what I was doing, I was using the altar, quote, like an altar like the Catholics would, or any other folks. And my spirit guide said, the whole universe is the altar. The whole planet is the altar. Everything is part of the altar, and is the altar, and is of the altar. And I went, oh shit. I just had to sit down for a while, because I had all these things and sayings, and this had to be like this, and this had to be over here. It had to be on the right side, not on the left. And it was like, and I got this really nice, but I don't know if you can see me with my arm. Wait, I got it sitting over here. So I got this entity that's sitting like this, right? He's got his hand, my knee's right here. So he's got his hand on his knee, and he's looking down at me going, you don't get this by now? Don't you understand? It isn't about that you made this special. It's only special to you. Yeah, but I created it for, the creator. And the guide said, looked at me sort of like I'm looking at you right now and going, you don't get it yet, do you, Hawkeye? I made this for you. This is my, yeah, but the whole universe is the altar. The whole universe is the prayer. You don't need this little spot with these crystals. Well, it was like I couldn't say my prayers unless I went to that sacred place. And they were like, do you not understand this? Everywhere you walk, everything that you touch, everything that you come in contact is part of the altar. It is the church. The whole spiel, the whole everything is the church, is the vessel, is it. Holy crap. So I put my magic books down. Now I still have my crystals and I will take them with me. There are certain times when I'll just get the feeling like I got several crystals that sit out. They'll go, I want to go, and they go with me. But I used to, oh my God, I got to take a crystal. What crystal should I take today? And I could see him just, my spirit guide, just with his arms folded, going, oh, you little kid, you child, we thought you had stood up and you're still on your hands and knees. And I was like, what do you mean I'm on my hands and knees? Because I was literally on my hands and knees looking for a crystal I thought I had to have in order to do a ceremony. And they were going like, tisk, 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 tisk. You, I thought I needed it. Oh, but I need this in order to. And they were like, sorry, you're missing the point. And now it's like, oh, holy crap. I am the crystal. I am the source. Now, people use the word manifestation. I try my best to stay out of that because there are way too many connotations and people's viewpoints on manifesting something. I don't use it because in my world, to manifest something means that I'm going to make it appear in my hand. Now, I understand other people, well, if I want to manifest a better tomorrow, well, I wake up tomorrow and I try, but it's to me, there is the overuse of the word to manifest. I wish to create a better tomorrow. Manifest. Tomorrow, I'm going to create a better tomorrow for myself and me and the dog because I'm going to do something positive. We're going to maybe go on a walk down towards, see how high the water is. We're going to go clear out some more trail. We're going to go do something. We're going to blah, 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 and when the water comes down, we're going to go on the river, So I look at what we can do depending on circumstances. But I say I'm going to do these things. I'm going to create these things. But the idea of manifesting, use the word, you understand how you use it. But what I want to warn you about, all of you who use this word, they're screaming at me right now, okay? You understand what the word means, but when you put the word out there, do the people who read the words know what you mean? And so, because the word manifestation, to manifest, goes into occult ish things, which we are kind of talking about that, but it'll freak other people out. You say, I'm going to create a better tomorrow. I'm going to work on creating, at the end of the week, me and Doug are going to have created, you know, now I could use the same word and go, I'm going to manifest this campsite. I'm going to manifest building I'd rather use the word create because to me, it's tied to creator. So in my prayer of creating, I'm asking creator to guide me versus manifest, which doesn't, it's got the first three letters are manifest. So if I create, I'm immediately tied to creator. Just saying. Now, so, but as a shaman in training, these differences are important because every time I stepped over, I looked at a particular thing and said, well, you know, then there's that old man that's sitting there with his hand on it, you know, his elbow up like this, going, I don't want to call you stupid, Hawkeye, but you're missing something. And it's as plain as day sitting right in front of you. But my brain, my 3D, my, you know, society that I had to have, it must be you know, and hang on. When you understand how we are always tied to the creator at all times, then whatever we wish to think of, then we can create it. It just is more simple to me than the manifest. Now, like I said, I know y'all use that word a lot. It's okay. But they're asking me to allow you to understand, you know what it means. But would it be a greater thing to say, I wish to create? Because it is tied directly to creator versus the manifestation. Okay, I told them. All right. You know, that was their that was mine too, but it was their conversation. They were like smacking me in the back of the head, you know, like, you know, you need to tell them this. You know, okay, all right. So the message is out there. But in understanding from the shamans and spiritual folk that I've met, they understand that difference. And so there are those, I hate to call this, but it's like the New Agers. It's manifest. When you talk to ancient teachers, they always say create. They don't ever use the word to manifest. It's like, what the hell does that mean? No, I'm going to create. What you going to create? Well, I'm going to go out and find some feathers, and I'm going to create this little feathered thingy for my prayers. Okay, you know, when I do a certain dance, I need some turtle shells, and I'm going to ask creator so I can find these so I can create some, you know, turtle rattles. Okay. So there was purpose. And so you say, what I'm going to create through creator. So what is it that you want? Well, I want to manifest. Yeah, but then the word man. So, but the elders say, well, which do you want to do? Well, I want to go out and till the land so I can create a garden, so I can plant. I'm not going to manifest it, but I can create the garden. You know, I've got hoes and shovels and tillers, and, you know, so I can create the garden and plant them and help them nourish them so that they will grow. But in the discussion of planting a garden, the word manifest does not fit. So in old traditions, in this being as simple as possible with these things, to manifest means that you are trying to play God, which God created things, but it is the manifestation of a ball of plasma in the palm of my hand versus creating a garden, creating a better tomorrow, creating a website, creating a prayer, creating a time to do a drum. Well, but throw the word manifest in there, and it's like, what? It confuses it. But use the word create. Okay, another subject. But with that though, they're they're kind of been on my butt about this, about doing a drum. So and explaining what we meant by the difference in spell casting versus prayer or intent is not being argumentative. Yeah, it's not an argument. I've been in the realm of spell casting, was there for a long time, and they told me to get out. For anybody that's got bone issues, look for bone set. It's a plant herb. Look for bone set. It really does work. Also, if you're having issues with bones, I've had lots of trauma. I've had 3 operations on my neck. Zinc. You must take zinc every day. Stop drinking water out of plastic bottles, and allow that stuff to get out of your body. Yeah, me too. I've got 3 discs missing up here, actually, and replaced with bone, and they didn't do very well. David, I would agree with that. The folks that I know around here that do this church praying, they're they're looking for an attachment. I would agree with you there. I really do. But and see here, that's a good point. And they're telling me, yeah, let's talk about this for a minute. What prayer, what a prayer means to a shaman and a native person, um, using, from the old ways, if you will, versus what people in the Christian community, Teresa and I were both Catholics. Um, and so the idea of, saying the rosary and saying the Apostles' Creed and, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Now, see, that's prayer, right? That's Christian prayer. But in the shaman area, the prayer is, now, I would say that when I was being a Christian and a Catholic, and I was in the altar and reading gospel in front of the congregation on Sundays, that I really felt the gospel. I read it with intent, and people would tell me, "Man, we wish you'd read. You'd be the commentator every Sunday. We love the way you read the Bible, Dave." And that was back in 68, 69, 70, back then. And so I've been at this a long time, if you will, and have known that somehow I've got a spiritual thing, but the repetition of prayer, it's almost like there is no intent. You're just repeating the prayer for the sake of repeating it because somebody said to. A place of lack. And if you lack, you will not attract. Agreed. But to the same point of using the word to manifest is the same thing to where I understand what I mean when I say I'm every morning I pray for you all. I don't say the Lord's Prayer. I don't say a rosary. I don't sit around and, well, here's a prayer for this one or here's a prayer for that. No, my prayer is my intent. That is the prayer. It's not necessarily the repetition of words that make my prayer a prayer from a shaman's point of view. So, from a shaman's point of view, it may be the words you speak because, I want to pray for Michelle and Doug and Teresa and David, and so my prayer at that point in time includes these people, these thoughts. Somebody's got a broken leg, we're going to pray for that. But the prayer is my intent to the universe. That's the actual prayer, not the words. And the smoke from the sense of the ancients, and see, Catholics use it. I've noticed that there are some, the Jewish use incense. Incense and smoke is used a lot in many religions, right? It ain't just one. It ain't just the Hindus or the Buddhists, right? The Catholics use a lot of incense, but okay. But I was the incense guy. Man, I loved it. I loved Christmas and Easter when I'm going to go around with that thing and fill the damn church with incense. I love that shit. I'm sorry. I'm having a, uh, I'm having a pre-adolescent, I'm having an altar boy flashback. But so, to the idea, what you said, though, David, the idea that the prayer for a lot of people are just the words. Well, if I say this, I got it, nah. I converted to Catholicism. I spent 14 years in it. It was great, 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 but yeah, it was great, great, great too until the priest kept handling my butt. Yeah, I got it. Yes, it is. But saying 10 Hail Marys and reciting the Rosary is repeating the same phrase over and over, and that is a Catholic spell. Teresa, I find myself when I have these Mother Mary moments, I'll just say it like that, and to where I start saying the Rosary. And without a Rosary, I just start saying, you know, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. And with that, and I know it's a Catholic prayer, but it's almost the only one that I will ever recite. And because it is the intent that I've had since a child of doing the rosary and my connection, not anybody else's, my connection with Mother Mary. So, and then there are times when, like, I think we've kind of worked this thing out that if I need to prayer for Mother Mary, I don't have to repeat this mantra. Although the Hindus and some of the other folk, in China and Eastern out over in there's a lot to be said about the mantra and the repetition of a sound, the repetition of a word. And so it's like, and myself having, done many ceremonies, and Lord willing, the creek don't rise too much, that I'll be able to do some more. So, and each time that I do a ceremony, I learn a little bit more about it. I feel more connected. The drum, the vibration passes through my hand. And I'm listening to one of the videos that Dante did, and he said there's a particular entity that is a shapeshifter and is on the planet. And they were talking about Mike Tyson, and when Mike Tyson fought because he had been approached by the Charistus group, and had seen these entities, that a droning sound like "whoa," and that before his fights they would play this one note really low and really loud, and that any entities that were shape-shifting this low frequency, it would make their shape-shifting flutter, this really low tone. So if the thing would be that if you think that there's a shapeshifter type entity or something that may be bothering you, that if you do this low tone, oh, it messes with them. And then I guess you get out your knife or your sword, and you hopefully chop them up into pieces before they kill you. But the interesting thing, though, is though the low sounds, like the big drums that are at powwows, are very they're big timpani kind of low notes. Is that would have been the video about the Asclepi? Yes, them guys. I was trying to remember their name. Thank you, Doug. It Michelle, and it also goes to the note of oh. It also relates to the Aboriginals in Australia in that I have a didgeridoo, but a friend of mine was spent a year or two in Australia, and when he came back, he brought a real didgeridoo from Australia home with him. And that thing sounded so much different than these knockoffs around here. It's not the same, but it's that low tone and the rebreathing and being able to hit that wom, 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 wom. Anyway, so, but when Dante said that about, and I'd forgotten, I'd seen that video before, but somehow I missed the thing about the low tone. Every time I say I waste my time rewatching some of the videos, but then I'll go, holy crap, how did I miss that one? But it'll make sense because, as far as learning about tones and knowing, that, I guess you could say they're sort sacred tones, but they're sacred because if used properly, they can help you get connected to the earth and to things. And there are those people who say, well, but that frequency is really low, and oh versus oh, but to the point though, sometimes low frequencies are what will, literally travel through us. So when holding the drum and drumming it, you know, uh, I could feel the vibration of the drum before, but now when I feel the vibration, it's different. Before I was just holding the drum and beating it and listening. I wasn't feeling the drum. I wasn't feeling the vibration that was resonating off the palm of my hand. I wasn't feeling it traveling down my arm and through my body. I was missing that entirely. And I don't miss that anymore. When I pick up the drum, if I'm not quite, feeling right, I don't want to put my energy in the drum. You know what I'm saying? So I pick up the drum and it don't. And if it ain't like resonating with me, I put it down because it's like, whoop, not today. Now the drum might sound okay, but I might not be in harmony with it. So, I might do a couple of things and, for a minute or so, but then it's got to get put down because I'm not in harmony with the frequency of the drum. Now, it is tuned to its size. So it doesn't really change other than when it's real dry, the drum will get tighter. And so it will seem that the pitch has changed, but it's actually the same note. It just sounds differently because I call it thunking. When the cowhide is a little damp, it thunk 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 thunk. But then when it's dry, boom 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 boom. It doesn't change in its what the note is, if that makes any sense. But it absolutely changes the vibration that comes out of it, that is felt in the way it's tied in the back and the way it travels down your arm. And also there are times if I hold it just right, and it might be that I need to twist the the drum. um Hang on a second, since I'm talking drum, it's sitting right behind me. Let me get it, let me show you. I worked with a woman for several years, and she made this drum. And then when I got my disability, she got hurt, and I went up to North Carolina. I'm sorry, Tennessee. She's on the Tennessee side. Um, Up around Gatlinburg, Tennessee, up there in the mountains. And I mean barely over the line from North Carolina. But she made drums for a living and traveled at powwows and so forth. And this is a drum that she made that I purchased. And then I later learned how to make them. And I made several of these same size drums. Let's see. Now it's just smoked. In fact, we put it so close to the fire one time, it actually um, almost caught on fire and melted that right there. Because it was damp and it was wet and it was thunking, and we laid it towards the fire that we had, and it got too hot and melted. So, but it's kind of sort of made, it is what it is. It melted this right along here. It's a lot of different color right there. But anyway, so the different spokes of the wheel, if you will. So how you hold it will put tension on certain ones, right? So if these are real tight, can you hear that? Anyway, it's buzzing. So my point is that how you hold the spokes will sometimes how it will feel down your arm or in your hand, or not necessarily the sound of the drum. Now I got my now that's hitting it in the center. Okay, now that's a rapid one, but now in if I was doing a slow ceremony, then it would be more like. Can you hear it woofing? But anyway, so this is the drum, and it's very dry. And the drum's very tight. But these are made of cowhide. We made the frames and glued them together. But anyway, I've had this drum for quite a few years now. Somewhere on the inside of this is the date. I made her sign it. Um, all right, Karen. Oh, there it is. I'm gonna have to go back over it. '11 of '01. I guess that's a one. No, 4/6/13. There we go. That sounds more right. So I went up to Tennessee to help her build because she'd broke her shoulder and her arm and couldn't make drums for a big powwow she was going to down in Georgia. And so I went up there and stayed for a couple of weeks. And she lived a lot. She lives a lot like me up there, but hers place is in the mountains up there, with the creek across the down her driveway and across the road. And the Smoky, I mean, literally, the Smoky Mountains National Park was like just a couple of miles away. You could see the tops of them from her place. But anyway, I miss going up there. But having worked with her, and she was a medicine woman type person who made all different kinds of pouches. We made all, I say we, I made different sizes of drums too. There was one size larger and another size, I think this is 16-inch, and the other was a 14 or a 12 or something like that. But anyway, we made different sizes of drums. But then I got hurt and I got off the circuit, and I haven't seen her, talk to her in quite a while. I don't even know if you know, if she's still alive. But many people that I've met in my lifetime, and you know, being an apprentice to make drums and that type of thing, and to learn about that kind of stuff is like, you know, people say, well, what'd she pay you? And I said, nothing. Well, she didn't give you anything. Well, you know, she gave me the knowledge. She gave me 2 weeks worth of free training, if you will, if I was making a mistake. And then she, afterwards, she goes, um, she would put smaller drums together. And I went to stay with her before she got hurt for about a week. Then she got hurt, and I went back up there to stay for 2 more weeks. So, but anyway, it was about 3 weeks, but not in a row. Anyway, but when I was there before she got hurt, um, after 2 days, there were some of them after they have to be wet when you do them, and tie them in the back so that they will stay taut when they dry. So back in the day, they would tie somebody with wet leather, and when the leather dried, it would strangle them, cut off their circulation, literally rip a hand off. And so you do the drum and you think you got it tight, and then when you hang it up to dry for a day or so, you go by and thunk it, and if it doesn't resonate and have that really nice strong clear bong, then you got to kind of get it wet, untie it, and stretch it again. And so I did 2 over, and after that I never had to go back over and do another one. And by the 3rd day, she was like, you know, I was making stringing 2 or 3 of these a day. And so she came by on the 3rd day and was going boom, boom, boom. She goes, wow. She goes, I can't tell if that's yours or mine. And I said, it's mine, meaning that I strung it. She goes, no, that sounds too good. And I was like, okay, you know, go ahead. But I'd put a little initial on the inside of each one that I did. So when she said, well, that's yours, that's mine, I go, nah, I got my initials down here, right? So, but in doing so, by the 3rd day, she goes, damn, you're a quick learner. She goes, it took me 2 weeks to where the first one I made that I didn't have to undo and redo. And I said, yeah, but my hands are stronger. You know, I'm a Libra. The strength is in your hands and the reins. And I said, I watched you. And I said, I'm a machinist. I'm good with my hands. And as I see it and as I felt it, I get where, oh, I need to give this when I'm there at that spot and I think that's good enough. Now I need to give it just another one more little notch, and just one more little notch, and that one more little notch. And I never had to redo another drum after that. And I made like 20 of them, you know, at that time that I was there. We ran out of materials. That's how many we made. But when I went back up there, she didn't make any of them. I made all of the drums of all different sizes. So, but to the point though, once I learned I ain't going to take this thing apart, it's too much trouble. I'm going to make sure I give it that extra little tug all the way around. Then when I think I got it, I'm going to go back around and give it one more little tug. And then you do what do I do with it? Oh, a little bit about drum construction. You go from one side to the other and then you pull. But then when you start to tie this knot in here, so you have to pull all of these and pull back on them to keep them taut. But then you do this one and this one before you tie the knot on the inside. And so to keep them all taut before you make that final knot. So, but I realized, so just go around it once and get everything stretched. Then you go back around again and you give it a little tug. I never had any more troubles with it. So one of these days I would like to be able to build some drums from scratch. Also flutes. My intention was to get my wood shop up and going before now, and that I'd be making wood flutes and things and drums and stuff like that. I'm not there yet, and my shop is a mess. But you know, if I'd quit spending time opening up the trails, right? But you know, I'm an old man. What the hell? When it gets too hot to go cut trails, I'll be in the shop in front of a fan cleaning up in there. That's my intent. So, you know. Well, Michelle, are you still? Yeah, you're still out. So, anyway, I hope I haven't been too obnoxious to anybody tonight, this morning. The spirits were kind of whopping at me to, you know, come on here and hang out with y'all. Can we get a jig on that drum? Do you mean is a jig in making it? Up to a point, yeah. But when you go to pulling them those tendons tight, the hardest thing is holding it down. Yes. So like a bar clamp on a table that would hold it still, but it's got to be flexible because you're always turning the drum and you're pulling it and you're wrapping the hide around it. It's interesting. I've probably forgotten more than I remember. But you know, cutting the hide, stretching the hide, putting um, putting holes in the right place, kind of thing. You know, but she had patterns and all that kind of stuff for that. And I could recreate part of it, but um, I had someone show me to play a steel drum in Trinidad. Yeah, you know, that's one of my next things that I want to do. I was looking, interesting you brought it up, the Tonga thing, you know, where they cut the tongues out and they there's wooden ones, or anyway, I've seen this one guy make it out of teak. Well, I've got some cherry wood, and I would love to make one out of cherry wood. And I uncovered some more logs out there when I cleaned up yesterday and today. And I don't know if I could get it. I could probably get enough and glue it together to have the top. But I got some logs that are this big around, but they've gotten eaten out and stuff from the inside. So, but I'm sure I could. There's enough pieces in there that I could glue a top together and then cut it out. But I've also got a couple of old steel. One of them is a refrigeration. You know, had refrigerant in it for an air conditioner kind of thing. So I've got that empty canister, and that would make a you know, this yay big, that big around. It'd make an interesting steel drum. You know, the tong drums. And what I've noticed from people who have made them is that they're really the same thing with anything handmade that you do, like a flute. You may drill the holes in the right place, you know, using the scale and the mark and all that kind of stuff, you know, that's been around forever. But there's a guy that bear flutes or something. He has a YouTube video, and my friend used to do the same thing. And I've met several people who make um, um, flutes. And I've talked about the guy that I knew down in Tampa, Doc, who played the flute. But anyway, so they will take a clothes hanger, a piece of it, and heat it up. And sometimes you need to waller the hole out just a little bit on one side or the other. And that you don't drill it, you don't sand it. They'll heat up the end of a coat hanger, a piece of it, and use that, and they'll scorch the inside of the hole. And if it needs to be elongated a little bit or whatever, just opened up some, and he'll play the flute, and he'll go, yeah, this one needs a little bit of tuning. He'll take it and he'll go like that, and he'll play the note, and it'll just go all of a sudden be like, what? Like magic. So tuning the damn things, you can get close, but to really get the note right on the mark, you can miss the mark. As my friend threw a few flutes away that wouldn't tune, and you can't put the wood back, you can't put it back. So you got to make a few mistakes to figure out, whoops, I went to the wrong side of the hole. If you're a little sharp or a little flat, depending on what side of the hole that you're trying to open up or whatever, if you put it, too far south or too far north up the flute, you can make it worse, really worse. And you go, oh my God, I wish I'd never touched it, but anyway. Good night, everybody. 2:00. Go back to bed. Have a good day. Yes. I'm going to say the same thing. It's been 3 hours and 16 minutes, and it's 2:04 in the morning time on 3/8, 2021. It's a Monday. I had no intention on this thing going 3 hours. It's all for you, Michelle. And for the rest of you. It's been really great hanging out with y'all. And I hope it hasn't been too boring or upsetting or whatever. I thank you all every day when I say my prayers, which is every day that I say my prayers. And that's my intent. If there was another word, make my offerings every day, if you will. My offerings to the universe. That's a good word. That's, well, that could, maybe I'm slaughtering animals or something. Nah, but to the point. My offering of smoke and of good intent to the universe. So that is my prayer. But anyway, y'all have a good week. I will try to get with you soon and do a card reading. They're really giving me the, hey, do a card reading. So, but they had this on my agenda first, so had to get rid of this one. But I love you all. Thank you so much. You all are doing great work. Keep up the good work. Keep the faith. And as one of a famous actor says, Anthony Hopkins, as a matter of fact, believe, 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 believe. When you give up your belief, what have you got? And that's just an interesting statement. If I believe that I'm going to die of a horrible death, I might just get it. If I believe that I'm going to live a long and healthy life, I'm going to do the best I can to get there. If I believe that I'm going to learn how to be more spiritual in touch, then I believe, I believe, I believe. Thank you, David Castle, for your input and your kind and wise words. I'd still like to, if it ever, it'd be great to sit around and have a real powwow with you folks and to do a drum, to do a prayer, to do a sweat lodge. But know that if I do it, I'm going to do it with y'all in mind. That's my 10 cents there. So I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom and the blessings from the universe. I do repeat this, but not always the same way. But anyway, I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, your relatives, all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. And then that law of three, which is so important to me, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, all those folks you may come in contact with, that you can help to spread the knowledge. and continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the blessings, and the wisdom from the universe, and that you continue to share that wisdom as you get it. Thank you, David Castle. Intelligent conversations without being disrespectful. Thank you, brother. I mean the same way. No disrespect meant in the conversation, and I honestly know that you understand what I mean in that sense. We can have conversation, and that's what it's supposed to be about, but not to pull the old guy card. But there's many of these things that I've already been through, and I've learned that um, I've learned that through age and time there are things that just, you know, you find that were necessary at first, and now they're not. Um, Hope you're well too, uh, Deborah. We've all been sending prayers your way. So, but I'm through with this at the moment. I'm tired. I want to get some more supper, and me and the dog have to go outside to pee. So be safe, be well, stay healthy, keep it between the ditches. And I hope to see you soon. And we'll do a card reading, I promise, soon. So get your questions ready. All right. So we love you. Till next time, be safe, my friends. And with South Georgia, as always, TTFN. Ta ta for now.